Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados live here on Thinking Critical YouTube. And apparently, we have an intro song that I need to figure out, Jim. What the hell? How did you come up with that, Jim? Is Jim here? Is Jim muted? What did Jim just walk away?
Here. He said he had to run downstairs real quick, but I fear he might have had one of those mortality brushes again.
Oh, Jim running down the stairs is a bad combo.
Might have gotten
scissors.
I hope he wasn't carrying scissors.
Or intercepted by a grudge-bearing family member. I mean, we fear for
Jim
his
created
life.
a Thinking Critical Comics Aficionados theme song that's actually pretty darn good.
Yes, it is.
I just need to find somebody to make a video with it. And I think you can put this on the YouTube as like a little like intro to play as soon as the stream goes live, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding. We should probably
like the Friends song.
We should talk to people that are better at this than us.
Absolutely. I got to figure this thing out because it's actually a song worth hearing.
It really is. I fucking loved it. It's like the theme song to a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, but it's about us.
Yes.
I was hoping for an old takeoff of the Gary Shandling show. So this is the theme to Wes's show, the opening theme to Wes's show.
I think Jim did it better. That thing was great. But of course, he's not here to revel in all the accolades and the praise that we're showering with because he does all these songs. You know that, right?
Well, he wouldn't know what to do with praise if we gave it to him. You know, he gets so little of it in his daily life. Like we might shock him. So we got to go easy on him, guys. We got to ease him into praise.
For the record, because he's a guy and getting praise, he will literally remember it for the rest of his life.
Yes, he will. It'll stick with him because that just does not happen.
General Ballsack says your old man is showing, Wes. And yes, it is because it is. In fact, my birthday, I turned 46. I will be... it'll be my birthday for another 56 minutes here in the Philippines.
Speaking of songs to be played or sung.
We don't need to sing me happy birthday, but I do want to say something to my good friend Yul Carter. I received this, and this is a fantastic package here. I got the Batman Year One reprints that you sent me, as well as the Faux 428 foil variant cover, and he sent me a Blood Hunt like calendar that's in 3D that my kids they're going to lose their little minds over this bad boy. They're going to love it. So I need to get hook up with Yul later and PayPal him some money, I guess. What did you get, Sully? I know you got some books from there.
I got a package from Yul Carter as well. Yul Carter at Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California saves my bacon. He sends me these awesome Gemini mailers packed very nicely. I got it in a free comic book day bag, which is great because that's one of the quintessential bags that you get when you shop at the local comic book shop. The other would be the ubiquitous brown paper flat, full of comic books. And he sent along a couple of books. Thank you, Yul. He knows I'm a huge Iron Man and Green Lantern fan, and these are just reader copies of like some Bronze Age stuff. Oh, thank you so much. Like a 1980 book and a 1976 book. You can tell that by its cover price, because we are comics aficionados. Good morning, Wes, and happy birthday. Nice.
Is Yul Carter the coolest guy in comic books? Perhaps.
Dude, yeah. I told him, like, hey, could you like put aside like the Green Arrow holiday special cover for me because I like this kind of stuff. And the past 2 issues of Wolverine, which have been pretty darn good, and Junior Baker that sold out, within 4 hours at my comic book shop. I couldn't get it, So yeah, he hooked me up. I'm so psyched. And Duke #2.
That's a damn good comic book right there.
Oh gosh, I'm looking forward to this. And my copy. He had my copy of Transformers 5.
Yeah, that's a great one too, man. You lucked out. That's a nice little haul there,
dude. Yeah, because I actually, if my comic book store sells out of something, I get on the horn with Yul Carter like right off the bat, and then I'm like, hey, by the way, let me look at my list. Do you have this? And I've got so much good stuff. This is the 4th time I've bought with him. Yeah,
man. Jonathan Soko bought Duke #2 and left it at the shop.
Damn,
that is a bad day.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Did you get it back? Did you call?
That's a big question. So I was supposed to review Transformers #5, a Patreon exclusive last week, but I ended up having to go out of town. So this week I have to do that one as well as Ultimate Spider-Man 2, which is another fantastic comic book this week. I have a feeling that Sully is going to be recommending that one at the end of the show.
You might have ESP, my friend.
You loved it, didn't you?
I did. Dude, I got a variant cover.
You
I'm so
probably
happy.
put it on the pillow next to you, snuggled with it.
Maybe. I know. Actually, that it's kind of hard. The crinkle of the polypropylene, you know what I mean, against your cheek. It sounds good in theory, because then what do? You drool, you cry, and you're gonna get your paper stained. So I mean, it's gonna.
You don't want that.
You don't want that. No. Sleeping with your funny books is a bad idea. It's good in theory.
I fell asleep one time, literally reading an issue of Brian K. Vaughan's Mystique. Like, oh God, this would have been close to 20 years ago. I woke up and it was ruined.
You rolled over.
I rolled over on it.
That's with the Mike
AL?
covers, right?
We need to give a shout out to AL. She says that she is listening to the show in the hospital with her dad. Hopefully, Dad is doing much better, and I speedy recover with whatever is going on with him. And you're certainly in our thoughts and prayers here, AL. I'm hoping he's doing all right. Jasper Plan 9 says, do we have any plans for a Dallas Fan Expo meetup? I do not, because I will not be at Dallas Fan Expo 2024. The plan is to be there in 2025. But there are a lot of other people that are going to be at 2024. Aaron Sparrow, you and I guess you're sharing beds with Josh and Drew?
And Max.
And Max. One bed.
Ooh.
4 guys, 1 bed, apparently.
It's gonna be like, I don't know, what was one of those old shows where everybody was like,
the Three Stooges.
yeah, that's how it's gonna be. Except there's more of us.
Or the beginning of the original, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where the entire family is in the one bed.
1 bed, yeah.
Yeah,
Same
until the grandpa gets the golden ticket, and then all of a sudden his lazy ass is cured. He's like up out of the bed, like, "Woo! I can't wait to go!" And you're like, "Oh, you lazy son of a!"
I got a golden ticket.
Perch was supposed to be here this week, but he's not feeling well. I'm not sure if he's doing better or whatever, but he wasn't able to make it. But hopefully he'll be on the channel very, very soon. And it sounds like AL is in the emergency room, so hopefully it's not too bad of an emergency. I know those things can vary as far as the urgency of them. So hopefully he gets brought in real soon and is taken care of. So, Jim, we were singing your praises about your musical aptitude with the Comics Aficionados theme song, but you were out, so you missed all the praise.
I didn't get to. I'll have to rewatch the show. I was running downstairs with an emergency. That's what I was.
What was your emergency?
We won't talk about that. No, actually, my wife ended up hitting a pothole and blew the tire out, and I had to run downstairs to see what was going on because there was a lot of screaming happening downstairs.
She blew a tire out in a pothole.
Yeah, she hit a pothole, and then she was getting breakfast for my son, and then he was mad because then the breakfast was cold, and there was some stuff going on. Crazy stuff.
He didn't even care about his mom and whether or not she was okay.
No,
Shit.
yeah, that's what it was. But it was one of those where she decided to do like 3 other things while going to get the breakfast, and that caused problems.
That does happen.
Now she doesn't want to come up here because she said if she comes up here, she'll kill me. So there's my story for the week.
Oh,
It's
no.
happening,
So
it's
Jim,
happening live.
Was
Why
that-
is it
I don't
your
know.
fault?
That's your brush with death this week?
That's my story right now, and we will.
You're
we'll keep
hiding
everybody
out with
updated.
us.
Yeah,
Jim,
yeah.
did you go out and make the pothole?
I think I am the pothole in her mind, so that's the deal. So yeah, she's very angry at me right now. But hey, I
Because
missed
you're
my
on the show
praises.
and you don't have time to look after the car?
No, actually, she was glad. She said, "I'm glad." I said, "I got to go up and record," and she's like, "I'm glad because I hate you." I'm like, "All right, that sounds accurate." So
It's
here I
another
am.
Manic Monday, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, except it's Saturday and every day's Monday, so it's problems. But hey, comics, right?
Yeah, how's the comic book channel doing? I know you're blowing up on the YouTube stuff.
It's okay. I ended up this week. I haven't felt well. I told you when we recorded, and then I decided I was just going to do some song reviews, and then everybody ran. I lost a bunch of subscribers. I'm like, I guess that's not working. So there you go.
You did song reviews and people unsubscribed?
Yeah, they don't want to hear that. They
It probably
want.
wasn't more than like 10 people, though. You're all right.
Yeah, well, it was okay. I'm just saying they want my great epic quotes. I don't know. They want my my insight, not song.
Well, people
not
are
song.
used to a certain type of content. If you
That is
change things
true.
up, and next thing you know, if you're delivering it musically and you're not a great singer,
That's
it
true.
could probably
That
turn
is
some
true.
people off.
It might turn people off. That is true. Hopefully that is the case, and now I'll be able to
Yeah, you want
pinpoint
the real
what the deal
fans to
is.
stick around.
Yeah, really, the ones that'll go for the shitty singing.
Weed them out.
I just watched the first half of the Marvels on a plane the other day, and I got to the point where they go to the planet where everybody communicates through
Through
musical.
All right.
And I'm like, what in the fuck am I watching? And now I'm thinking, you just gave me a flashback to that.
It's like
Yeah,
the
there
exact
is.
opposite of one of the best Deep Space Nine episodes ever, where they show up to the planet that has no music. When the hologram guy sings, he becomes an enormous celebrity.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great episode, Sully?
Vic
Do not lie.
Fontaine, dude. I
Yes.
love the Vic Fontaine episodes. They were just so charming.
No, I'm not talking about DS9. I'm talking about Voyager. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Where
Doctor
the
was-
hologram doctor shows up on the planet that doesn't have music,
Oh,
and he
gosh.
starts singing. He turns into this huge celebrity, and he thinks he's going to leave the ship to be a celebrity there forever. Then he realizes they just see him as a computer program. We're remaking him, but better.
I just want to say quick though, I do
Yeah.
want Aaron and Drew to make sure that they give us the video 4 guys 1 bed is what I need to see
One bed.
when we're done.
Content house.
Too hot
Live,
for
24
YouTube. We got to
hours.
put that one on Daily Motion.
Yeah, I won't be able to. We'll have to start an OnlyFans for that one.
Yeah,
The
we're
Thinking
we're
Critical
planning on a
OnlyFans.
we're planning on a Madam Web watch party, so that'll be really hot.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Why would you put yourself through Madam Web again?
Because we're
Sydney
gonna
Sweeney.
mystery science theater that thing the way that I was only barely able to do
Nice.
in the theater.
Oh, so you're gonna get like the pirate copy or whatever?
No, it'll be
The
out by
Blu-ray?
then. It's the Blu-ray's already being offered, Matt. That's how quickly it went to. They were like, "Oh, we got to get some money out of this turkey."
Well, very nice. Sully, what's going on in your chin? You got anything people need to know about?
I'm just churning along. I do.
You still beefing with YouTube?
No, not really. No, it's just.
'Cause I've been keeping up with your weekly beef with YouTube that they're
It's-
not counting your view time,
Yeah,
your watch hours.
I gave up on that. I might have had it wrong. Like apparently you don't get. I mean, like why bother? Like I'm a growing channel. I'm looking to hit my marks, and but your live streams don't contribute to your public view hours. Only after it. I'm like
Only after it's done and then
Yeah,
like uploaded.
I could use that 200 hours that I've lost because that's gonna. But hey, that's the trials and tribulations of being a small channel and a small creator and having goals. And it's still a goal. I'll get there. And that's that. So you small creators out there, don't give up heart because we're all going to have our
Absolutely.
setbacks. We really are. And we grow together. Just keep doing
YouTube is
what
a
you love.
grind.
Yeah, I mean, I do what I love. I make comic book content twice a week. And so I have 2 shows. I go to a live stream on Sundays now, and I see a lot of familiar faces in this live chat, and they show up to my show, and I love it. And I do that at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern on Sundays. And I review all the new comics that I read and buy. I do buy comics every week from my local comic book shop. So, share the joy. That's what it's all about. And cooking and spirituality too. So, yeah, thank you, Wes. That's
Ooh,
what
very
I'm about.
nice. Who else we got here? We got Drew from Comics Elite joining us, the man behind Unholy Nightmare and plenty of other projects out there that we can't even talk about yet, Drew.
Yeah, there's one of which one of the inkers, Shelby Robertson, he's inking one of the projects. He did a live stream a couple nights ago, inking one of the pages, and I was frothing at the mouth, just hoping to talk about it. But I can't talk about it yet, but Murat is keeping me busy for the foreseeable future. That's all I gotta say.
Very nice. Well, how you been? It's cold there. I
Been
guess
good.
it's snowing.
Been busy. Yep, it snowed this morning. Had a nice little frosting here in Indy. Hopefully the sun will come out and melt most of this crap. I'm done with it. I'm ready for spring, ready for some warm weather.
Well, I'm ready for the warm weather too, man. I'm about done with winter here. It dipped down to about 82 degrees.
Man.
I couldn't handle it anymore.
fuck you!
Fuck you.
I might have to go up into the mountains where it's 75.
I had to put on socks last night.
Put my wife through, show her what it's really like to go through winter.
Cue the violin. Oh, jeez.
But we had a nice trip. We ended up going to Manila this week, so lots of fun stuff going on there. I actually got to go to a comic book shop, so that was nice. I'll show people what I bought a little bit later in the broadcast. Who else we got? We got Aaron Sparrow. How you doing, Sparrow?
Oh, I'm with you, Wes. Man, it's been cold. It's gotten down to like 55 at night here. You know, it's
too much.
Unbelievable. I almost had to change out of shorts at one point. It was not good. It's very, very cold.
It's a big time inconvenience to me when my wife asks me to wear blue jeans now. Like, listen,
really? You're like, what?
This is a wedding. Can you wear jeans to this? It's like, I hadn't planned on it. No.
Wow.
I planned on wearing shorts and a t-shirt like I have every other day of my life here for 6 years.
I still get to wear flip-flops though, right? I mean, the wedding's okay with that.
As long as you got socks on, you're good to go.
Are you? You know what's funny is I love it because you talk to of course guys like Doc, guys like Sully, live in a little bit of a colder climate, and you're like, yeah, it got really cold last night, got down to 50, and they're like, bitch, it gets up to 50 here, and people start lining up outside Dairy Queen, they're like really excited.
You put on your shorts and your white sneakers around here.
There's 2 digits on the thermometer. I shovel snow in shorts.
No, I certainly saw that when I lived in Alaska. People would be out shoveling snow in their shorts because it was only 25 degrees.
Yeah. I don't even wear a coat while there's 2 digits on the thermometer.
Weird. I don't think you'd last here, Doc. You just like sweat yourself to death.
I would literally just turn into a puddle of water. There would be no Doc left. It would just be, I'd be a puddle where I used to stand.
I much prefer cold weather. I much prefer cold weather to warm weather. I mean, I love it when you
says the guy that's always lived in California.
Well, but like every time I've gone like up to visit my dad. My dad lives up in Washington State, and it's like snowing up there, and I'm like, I get to wear a coat. I get to wear layers. But what's this scarf thing? How does it work?
Snow angels and snowmen are only cool for so long.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I lived in it, I'd be much less enthusiastic. But no, I hate summers here. Like summer's coming, and I absolutely hate it. I hate the fact that there's only so much you can take off before you get arrested. But you can continually put clothes
in California?
On in cold weather. Yeah.
Well, I mean, pictures of that parade.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you have to be in a parade to go fully fully nude and suffer no consequences. But yeah, it's a degenerate state, and it's eventually going to break off and fall into the ocean.
Woohoo! Very nice. Now, Doc, you were out traveling as well this week.
I was.
You went to the Dirty South?
I was in the Dirty South this week. 2 weeks or a week and a half ago.
When did they stop calling
Chicago.
it the Dirty South? Is that like 20 years ago? That's Master P, right?
I think so. Maybe it might have been Cash Money Records.
Like Redman and Ludacris.
No. It would have been like Cash Money with like Lil Wayne and
I'm sure Redman was in on that shit.
Who was that back that ass? Juvenile. That's it.
You know what I hated the worst about all that stuff? When people would call Atlanta Hotlanta.
Yes.
Oh, I hate that so much.
God.
I actually had to fly through Atlanta. I don't like that airport.
All right, Doc. George Renda says that you're incorrect. This is something I was going to bring up, but he's brought it up already. He says, Doc, Rosenberg's run ends at 644. Hickman's run, while not uncanny, ended at 21. Duggan's run, also not uncanny, will end at 34. 644 plus 21 plus 34 equals 699, setting us up for Uncanny X-Men 700.
Yes, and Rosenberg's run inexplicably jumps 3 issues for the legacy numbering between issue 16 and 17. There is absolutely no explanation. If you look at issue 16, it has the legacy numbering of 635. And on issue 17, it has the legacy number of 639. There's absolutely no explanation for why it jumps 3 issues in legacy numbering.
They accidentally typed a 9 instead of a 6 because it's an upside down 6.
Yes, well, that's the only reason why it is. He finishes at 644. He actually
641.
Correct. He finishes at 641. I don't know why There is, I can find no explanation anywhere as to why it jumps 3 issues between issue 16 and 17.
Like,
There's
you
no-
guys are just lucky that they sent it to the printer.
I know, right? Hi, Heather. How are you doing today? Welcome to the panel.
My goodness. So there you go, George. Doc says he's still not wrong.
I mean,
Or
if somebody wants to explain how you can go 3 issues, you could just skip 3 issues between issue 16 and 17. It's not 16 to 20. It's 16 to 17. So somewhere in there, they counted 3 issues that didn't exist in the Uncanny X-Men title.
I just told you my money is on. They typed a 9 on accident. It was an upside down 6.
Consistent numerics are part of the patriarchy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. Math is racist. So, because 16 plus 17
Oh,
equals
Karen Sparrow.
45.
Perfect.
Oh.
Aaron Sparrow.
Karen
Oh, lovely.
For the early
love
lead.
it.
Oof.
I need to go get me a wig with that Karen hairstyle. That'd be amazing.
That's gonna bruise in the morning.
This is how
Lade,
Common Core math works.
Lade says, if you want funny comic song reviews, check out Weird Science channel. If you need a comic, contact Fantastic Comics. We need more Soy Sparrow in our day.
Oh man, people saw Max's stream. Yeah, we did a stream on Sunday with Max where we basically we became one of those YouTube channels where everything's positive and everything that comes out is great, and we just praise everything. We had a real Stuckman vibe going on.
Nice.
It was quite a show.
There you go. So one person at least really liked your music reviews, Jim.
Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say you go to see Soy Sparrow and come to see shitty singing for me. There you go. Shitty singing.
So you were able to get an entire review in. Are you doing it to like push it from Salt and Pepper? What are you doing this to?
I was gonna do it to Waterfalls by TLC, but I ended up now it's original stuff. I'm
The original songs. You're not
Yes.
even using
No.
like the
Originals only. Well, I can't. The thing is, I like to do song parodies, but those get flagged on YouTube, so I had to change up the game. Originals.
So are you doing like a keyboard music? What are you doing? Here?
I want to do more boy band stuff, but I'm gonna actually. My plan actually was just to do every single genre of music ever, come up with is what I've been trying to do, but it's not working. So screw
There's
everything.
a lot of music up.
Are you going a cappella on this bad boy?
I have a barbershop review that I didn't put up yet. Yes, so I have it all. I want to go through I have some new metal. We got some rap. We got classic.
K-pop.
There will be some. That's my favorite. I'm saving that for later. But yeah, if somebody can go to the channel and see, and I've already put up a couple stupid things, so you could check it out. Just something new. I was bored this week and I didn't feel well, so I was like, fuck it. I'll do it now.
It just sounds really strange, Jim.
It was, and I got obsessed with it. Is the problem. I got really manic about it, and I was sending Sully songs. I mean, it was going crazy.
He's like your producer or something?
Nah, I like to get.
Is he the Dre to your Eminem?
Well, yes, I send it to him, and if he says so, then I'm like, okay, it's pretty good. I have a Sus Gabe theme song that I made as well. That's out there. So I have all sorts of crazy things. Like I said, I kind of lost my mind.
Music, you can curse as much as you want in that. You know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I know that. I actually had taken advantage of that at one point, and yeah. I even got worried about a certain unlifing word or whatever because it didn't get flagged because it's in a song. You get artistic license.
Yeah. So you're not going to do like a Batman review to Gangnam Style.
I might. I did one to kind of
Joker
like
style.
that would be good.
Joker style.
You're one. Yeah, maybe. Now you inspired me. See, I was trying to get off of it. Now you're putting me right back. You're an enabler.
You're my muse.
Yes, you are.
Vincent says Jim's Raven song has the hottest bars of the year.
Hmm.
Is that true?
It's a little bit of a post.
Does it slap?
Feel.
That's what the young people say, right?
I don't know that sort of trap rap can slap, but you can check it out. I don't
think
like
slap just means it's good or hot or something.
I always think that means like you're jamming and like taking drugs in the club or something. That's what I say.
No cap, Wes? No cap?
No cap. That's the deal.
Sparrow, what does slap mean to the young people?
It means that it means that it's great. It's got a good beat. In the words of the old people, it's got a good beat, easy to dance to.
Rami Salami says it does slap.
See, maybe people have to check it out.
My editor one time was like, "We need to make these videos slap." I was like, "I don't know what the fuck you're getting at, man."
like I don't do that to my wife.
He's
call
like,
your wife in.
You need more Riz.
I have no idea what he wanted. Linda says, if DC wants to introduce Kara, they shouldn't adapt Woman of Tomorrow. The Supergirl from Krypton is better, and fans can get a world's finest film at the same time.
Yeah, but Tom King gets his cut, though.
The Woman of Tomorrow Supergirl is just True Grit with Supergirl in it.
Mm-hmm.
We've already had two True Grit movies and a sequel to True Grit.
This is Truer Grit.
And they're all great because it's a great story. They're just ripping it off.
True shit.
But I guess for some reason, James Gunn has a hard-on for Tom King.
Yeah. James Gunn seems like that guy like just showed up at the party and he's like, I think that guy's the cool guy. I'm going to hang with him, and he picked the wrong guy. By the end of the party, he'll realize.
Perhaps. So even the party is probably him getting fired.
Well, there you go.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's his fault, I guess.
Later in the party, James Gunn's like, man, this guy won't stop talking about his mom.
Yeah, really.
But I guess he can go back and do Guardians of the Galaxy 4.
Oh, well, I think that's already being done. It's called Borderlands.
Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer for that? It's ripping off Guardians vibes so hard, which I guess,
I don't know what Borderlands is.
It's a movie coming out based on the video game, and that trailer is just like pure Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if the movie will be, but the trailer house definitely tried to give you that vibe.
Very nice. Federico De La Casa. Hey, guys, do you think Gail Simone will end because she will not deliver scripts, or it will just sink due to low sales?
I think it's going... Yeah. Yeah. No. Go ahead, Drew.
No, just going to say both.
I'm assuming that she's had 4 months of lead up, so she probably has some scripts in the can.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
I think that's a bold prediction that you think that they have enough of an idea of what they're doing that they've had any lead time to put scripts out together with the writers.
The scripts were being put together at least 2.5 months ago. Tom Brevoort even said that.
Yeah. Do you believe
they just
Tom
hadn't
Brevoort?
got the artist yet?
Tom Brevoort will also tell you that Dan Slott is a talented man.
He's never work on
that.
time.
He did an entire video roasting the guy.
Yeah, it's like
about how incompetent he was.
Which
talented.
So that's the good part is you bring in Gail, she's late on her scripts, and then Christos Gage gets more work writing for somebody else
instead of writing Daredevil board again, which he should be doing.
Giving the assignments to Christos Gage and actually getting scripts in on time.
Christos Gage could write. Him and his wife could write Daredevil Born Again, and Christos could still do all of Dan Slott's ghostwriting and probably Gail Simone's ghostwriting too, and still be on time with all of these things simultaneously.
You know why? Because Christos Gage doesn't have to be on Twitter 24/7.
He's a
Twitter persona.
Yes, he's a professional. I've literally known the guy. Well, I mean, I've communicated with him since he came into comic books back on fucking Wildcats or Stormwatch PhD. He was very, very professional even back then. Like when people were like, who in the fuck is this guy? And
nice.
he
Dog's
gets his
name
work
dropping.
But no, he's a very professional, creator and does his work. Now, regarding whether or not I think it's going to flop because of poor sales. Because I mean, we've already seen that Stephanie Phillips is doing the all new Wolverine book.
Well,
the girl
guess who's
Wolverine.
in the Slack chat right now with Tom Brevoort? It's Chris can't write well. It was in a recent interview for Valentine's Day. So
exactly. So
Lovely.
They are not changing course at all. Instead of Gay Orgy Island, it's just going to be Gay Orgy Mansion.
All right. Calum says, I played those games. I imagine he's talking about Borderland. The trailer was awful like last night's Airbender on Netflix. So I have Airbender like flagged to watch because everyone said it was great and the movie was so bad. I was going to give it a shot. So am I not supposed to watch The Last Airbender on Netflix? Did anybody watch it?
I don't watch that stuff.
I saw the Shyamalan movie. That was outstanding.
That's the reason I won't watch the animated. So maybe I shouldn't check it out. Is
There's
that what
an
people are
anime?
saying? No, there's
The
an
anime
animated
is-
show called Avatar: The Last
The Last
Airbender
Airbender. Yeah, and
that
it's
they made
fantastic.
the M. Night
I've heard of
Shyamalan
that.
movie after.
Yeah, it's
Like,
fantastic.
Shyamalan movie, fantastic.
No,
No,
oh my
it's
god!
awful.
You go back and you watch like they had like theater reactions of people coming out and they were interviewing them, and it's all these like Avatar: The Last Airbender anime fans coming out going, "Oh, that was just the worst." I don't know what they were thinking. Like, you know, this is horrible. Like nobody had anything positive to say about it at all, and it kind of like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Netflix
interested
is a spotty production company. I recently watched. I didn't watch all of it, but I started watching their Alexander: The Making of a God docu-series. In 10 minutes in it, I was like, this thing is so historically inaccurate, I can't even take it seriously.
Well, you know, because it has to be put up against the equity chart, and history is not always filled with, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
They weren't even getting the uniforms correct. They didn't even mention the phalanx. They weren't talking about his horse. That's like the biggest legend about Alexander.
They don't care, Wes. It's just content. It's
They got
not
the
art.
they got the tower shields wrong and
Eat
and
the
the
slop, you pig.
greaves.
The phalanx is the reason that he took over the world. Yeah, whatever. We're not
the
getting into that.
airplanes.
But there you go, Cal. Be prepared to just be disappointed apparently in Borderland. But we should talk about Marvel Comics canceling their entire X-Men line. We knew this was going to be coming up because they are rebooting in July, just in time to get to Uncanny X-Men 700, which Doc still disagrees that they've actually made the math work. And, you know, just kind of thinking about all the, what?
Hold on. I got even more ammunition for why the math don't fucking work. Why in the hell is Hickman or Jerry Duggan's adjectiveless X-Men counted into Uncanny X-Men legacy numbers when adjectiveless X-Men, the 300 issues of adjectiveless X-Men, New X-Men, and X-Men Legacy aren't counted towards Uncanny X-Men? That
It should be 1,000.
Yeah, you should be well over 1,000. They missed their opportunity to do 1,000, and now it doesn't make any fucking mathematical sense.
Doc, are you suggesting that Marvel would lie to its consumers just for a cheap cash grab?
Oh my
you know,
goodness.
I'm thinking, you know what? I have a vague recollection of like a Marvel Comics 1000
Oh, interesting.
that
Marvel Age 1000.
that never
Please say more.
that the math didn't math there either. I mean, they're just gonna make shit up.
All right, buddy, let's bring down the thing. Your A's are hitting
gain is up.
I
incredibly
think he is
high
angry.
decibel there.
But I have a question for
Should have
Doc.
made a
then.
dog cry.
Doc, I have a question for you. When did the X-Men Volume 1 gain the uncanny adjective? Wasn't it like issue 70-ish?
114, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
114?
After
Okay,
Claremont.
so it was before Uncanny X-Men. It was simply
X-Men. And then so I mean, I can understand that, but again, if you're going to bunch a handful of adjectiveless X-Men books that have come out since into with Uncanny, I mean, I understand the one before it because they continued the same numbering. When it's still in the same series, you know, it's like calling Incredible Hulk issue, you know, 700 or 500 or 800 or wherever the hell it is now, when those first 100 issues and 100 and some issues were Tales of Suspense. Same with Captain America and some of the other titles that went from, you know, Tales of Mystery to Doctor Strange, and it got retitled and it kept the continuous numbering. I can understand counting those, but once you've started relaunching and you've already established what the real title is, and then you continue that for decades, but then you do a handful of spin-offs that don't mathematically work because there's been there was X-Men at 91 series.
Yeah. That was was that volume 2? X-Men volume 2?
It was X-Men
Number
volume 2,
Okay.
number 1, but you had up to issue 114 was X-Men, and then it became New X-Men, and then it went back to X-Men, and then at around issue 207 it becomes X-Men Legacy up through like 275, and then there's an X-Men Legacy title, but then you also reboot to X-Men Adjectiveless Volume 3. So but Jonathan Hickman's X-Men Adjectiveless was X-Men Adjectiveless Volume 5.
Yeah.
It
So this is Volume 6. The Duggan one is Volume 6.
Yes, but there's an Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, and I think just Volume 4.
And 8.
So now you're mashing these things together. All they're doing is just selectively choosing. Why not only count the first 200 issues of one title and then the last 75 issues of another? You can just math shit together. It doesn't need to make any sense. It's fucking Common Core math. It's just pick and choose what the hell we want. It doesn't have to even matter. You don't even have to pick the entire run. Fuck it. Just
All right, Doc.
pick 50 issues of it.
He's taking exception to that one. Now, we do have the entire X-Men line being canceled. Now, Jim, you're more of a DC guy, and you started to get into the X-Men because there was a lot of buzz around Jonathan Hickman's X-Men. What was the point where you just couldn't take it anymore and you actually had to stop?
It was at the end of the first Hellfire Gala. I was done. And that seemed to be like a little bit before of most other people, but I'd gone through like the Swords of 10, whatever nonsense. And then once that Hellfire Gala came, I bailed. I was done. It was more of not just that. It was more of those side books and like Teenie Howard stuff, things like that. I just couldn't take it, and I wasn't enjoying it. That happens sometimes, though, right?
Yeah, I kind of smelled a stinker from the beginning. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna put this. I bought this back in 2019. I bought 2 issues, and I think it was based off of watching like maybe even this show. Or one of them, but it's the Powers of X, issue 4 of 6, and they bought the House of X. No, it's the Powers of 10 in the House of X. Exactly, but
That
the House of
annoyed me
X.
Why is it
immediately,
not?
right, yes.
Why is it not Powers of X? Where did it? Was there? It was.
I think it's
said
the Powers
somewhere
of
that it
10.
was called Powers of 10.
Yeah,
Because that was
think-
about Moira.
I
Moira's
think-
10 lifetimes, I think.
I
Yeah.
think it was literally an interview where Hickman spoke it and just said it's the Powers of 10.
Yeah.
And then I got issue 1 of the Hickman Lennell Hughes art. I love Lennell Hughes art, man. I could eat that stuff up all day. And this introduced me to Pepe Larraz too. I mean, that was very grateful for that. But I could just tell, like right off the bat with issue 1 here, that I didn't get issue 2, and I didn't come back for more. Why? Because I wasn't feeling it. There was and then I got proven right after the whole X office kinds of the whole thing with the X Slack and the power of committee ruining Hickman's vision and all the useless stuff. Like I just read like Fall of the House of X issue numbers 1 and 2 the past couple of weeks by Jerry Duggan, and I feel like, wow, things actually happen in that book. It shows you how much fluff has been produced by having 2 very competent, solid superhero issues starring the X-Men. I was like, I know that the X-Men are doing questionable things, but I mean, it was chock full of action, good pacing, and things actually happen and matter. And I'm like, wow, here is where it is at. And everything
Sully
else was
going
fluff.
down a path I can't follow.
That's
Break
okay,
my
man.
heart.
I get it.
The Duggan issues I thought were abysmal. I mean, first, it also, put a spotlight for me on how much of paper they've literally wasted for the past 5 years, because none of the things that were implied, as that House and Powers originally were leading to were ever explored in the interim, and now they're just jumping to that stuff. And they're with no build up. The plotting is just abysmal. It's literally incomprehensible what they think. That there's action, but it's action for the sake of action. It is not doing anything.
And the attempts at humor.
But but no, I think the appropriate time to look, House and Powers, when they first came out, they were good. They were fine. I enjoyed them. I liked where they were sort of going, but I also saw all the giant glaring flaws, and I said them on this show at the time. Moving all the villains and onto the island and forgiving them and making them all part of the X-Men, cast, like the roster, even though there's no X-Men, that's going to be a problem. The immorality of them doing this weird drug dealing thing is going to be a problem, and their lack of taking death off the table is going to be a massive storytelling problem. All of these things became all of the big problems that X-Men suffered for the last 5 years because they didn't have anybody to come into conflict with. So they just had to make it racist shit with humans. Periodically, when it wasn't them just milling about, their big conflict was between their feelings and somebody getting not actually attacked, like not somebody trying to kill them on the island. It was another mutant misgendered them or made them feel not perfect in every conceivable way. At some point for 5 seconds, they were inconvenienced that they had to doubt themselves. That was the conflicts that you had for the last 4 years. And then whenever they did go out and do actiony things, there was absolutely zero stakes because they got to the point where they were literally resurrecting the character on the same page. They die, and the next panel was them respawning. Like, what the... But then, anytime they needed to do any sort of, add tension, because it's a bunch of retards that are in that office, they couldn't help but go to the things that they know. Look, you're going to do a high concept book where death is no longer the catalyst. It's no longer a plot, progression tool. Then you can't keep using death as a plot progression tool. You'd have to be really, really stupid to think that in a world where death doesn't matter, you can make us think that death matters as a way to sell us a comic book. I mean, and they did this literally from the first issue of, the relaunch when it went from House and Powers to...
Right.
Yeah, you did it in that X-Men book, and they did it also simultaneously the same week in
all the way back
X-Force.
here, right at the very beginning. You had Cyclops kind of already talking about using disposable troops in a way because he's the tactician, and Storm was kind of like a little iffy on that. So I really thought that there was a missed opportunity here to get some who's going to be the leader of the X-Men? Will it be Storm again? Because of that.
But then the next issue, they're fighting old lady grandmas that are in a garden club.
That's where I checked out. I bought a few
Girls.
issues past that, but that was where I mentally checked out.
My one thing, just quick, is when I said the Hellfire Gala, now that Doc was talking and bringing up some stuff, it was that was the final point. I had been dropping books, and it was one of those where it almost goes with the Star Wars stuff, too, something I loved. I was hating more than what I was liking, and so then I had to give it up. Like, I'm not really a fan of this, so that's why I bailed. But the Hellfire Gala was it. But the whole resurrection, it was flawed from the bit. Like Doug said, there's no and then you have to make reasons to have tension to kind of get around your thing that you said, and then what are you doing? It's
Jim,
ridiculous.
did you get out of the Star Wars comics before they discovered the pinnacle of Star Wars, what Star Wars always needed and just was always lacking, which was a story about a great galactic bake-off?
Yes, I got out of that. Thank God. I ended up at the beginning of the Star Droids. I had had enough, so yeah, I missed the bake-off.
That issue alone is so emblematic of the problem of when you bring in these 20-something college girls that watch HGTV and you make them editors, and this is the sort of story that you get out of freaking Star Wars, a story about a galactic bake-off, a whole special about it. It's
lovely.
It is
it's
ridiculous,
infuriating.
and you wonder why these things are dying. And the reason that they're dying is because Disney took all these boy brands, Marvel, Star Wars, and they tried to make them girl brands. Yeah. And all the guys checked out, and the girls aren't interested either.
And the
only
thing that
people
got
that are
me
interested.
too,
Mm-hmm.
thing that got me is when you do I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. If I complain and just say, boy, this. I get attacked then, and I get attacked for other reasons than just like, well, maybe it isn't Star. It's like I'm hateful, and that's where the fandom ended up like killing me as well.
You
It
get
just-
attacked by a bunch of mentally ill losers who don't pay for the product; they pirate it online.
Well, at one
And,
point, yeah. At
yeah,
one
that's-
point, I saw a editors or one of the, I forget who it was, said they were looking for people to write stuff that never saw Star Wars because they wanted a fresh take, and that's like, really.
No one asked for that. No, I've been having the most robust conversations on Twitter about Morph and X-Men 97. And the first things out of everyone's mouth is bigot, racist, and phobe. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, you have
Just agree, Sully. Go, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm all those things. Now what? Now what do you got?
all I
Now
said was
defend it
about
on
Rogue's
the basis
booty.
of the argument.
You threw Morph in there. And I compared Morph to Odo from Deep Space Nine, kind of like, hey, maybe Morph is something more like a liquid kind of being than an actual human,
Look, I'm sorry that you're unattractive, but that doesn't mean you don't have a gender. You have one.
You're just ugly version of that gender. Sorry, that sucks.
And you generally don't get any better crossing over or you're trying to be in the middle. Like it doesn't help.
And I want to say, Aaron, if Itchy didn't win the Bake Off, then there's something wrong as well. Itchy needs to win that.
Now, do you mean Itchy Chewbacca's son?
I
or
mean
do you-
Chewbacca's
or-
Oh, I thought you were
his
talking about,
grandpa?
like-
Yeah, I mean his grandpa.
or,
Itchy's. I mean Chewbacca's
Lumpy
grandpa.
is the son.
Yeah, Lumpy.
Yeah,
Lumpy.
Lumpy.
Don't get him near it. He'll
Nal
ruin
is
it.
the wife.
Yeah.
Yes, and then, or do you mean Itchy from The Simpsons? Because at this point,
I would go.
I would not be surprised
would be
if
true.
characters from The Simpsons are in Star Wars, because who the hell cares?
I would hope that it's the influential Wookiee chieftain Itchy who will win the Bake Off. Is what It'll pay people off though.
Where are you
When did
gonna
this
find
Bake Off
Harry?
happen? Did I miss this?
Yeah.
Was it recent?
It was a Marvel comic.
Yeah, there was a Star Wars special, The Great Galactic
God.
Takeoff.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like something I would have just skipped over.
I actually thought it was Lando getting high, but
Sounds like
that's-
something you would have made Doc review.
Well, I know I'm buying Ultimate X-Men #1, but am I going to buy X-Men #1 Volume 7 by Gail Simone?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've been one of those fans. I want the return to the mansion. And I get a lot of pushback from that idea too, being like, you're some kind of Luddite or backwards thinker, Krakoa's age. And I'm like, no, I literally have been buying X-Men comics over 40 years. So I see a pattern, like they're continually outgrowing the mansion and returning to the mansion. And I'm ready to return to the mansion and have a danger room, maybe school uniforms again. I love, like Jim Lee's 1990 X-Men when he had everyone in the same uniform. Chef's kiss. I love those times.
Well, you
So-
love X-Men as characters and not as a sexual fetish. And that's the difference.
Or as a cultural totem. You know what I mean? I'm not culturally, incorporating this like imagery as a cudgel to other fans being like, no, X-Men only represent marginalized communities. And I'm like, you are missing the point of Xavier's dream. I mean, seriously, you lack imagination. I identified with Storm. Seriously. Remember Storm used to have claustrophobia? I had bad asthma as a kid. So I really identified by being a sick little
No
kid.
way, a nerdy asthmatic kid ended up being a comic book fan?
No, yeah.
Imagine that.
Storm
Alright,
was
so-
my X-Men. I mean, she was my favorite, and she was the leader of the team for basically as soon as I started buying them as a kid.
I got
Sully,
I-
you were a
hold on.
you were a heterosexual white male. How could you possibly identify with the X-Men? Because
From
they're
South
a,
Boston, Massachusetts, the most
I-
racist place over the Mason-Dixon line. I know.
the proper way to deal with being a slightly nerdy asthmatic kid is to start smoking and playing sports.
Yeah.
It actually did work. So, and then I got fat.
We all got fat, Doc.
That's just because I'm old.
Yeah. I'm almost 50 now, man. I can't believe it.
Dude, welcome to middle age, man.
Closer to 50 than I am to 40 now.
Rites of passage for you. We're going to sign you up for your colonoscopy next.
Do you guys want to know a horrible fact?
Yeah.
We are now as far from the image revolution in comics as the image revolution was from Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yep.
Indeed. But we endure. We're part of what makes this endure. we showing up for shows like this, being invited by Wes and talking about this because it matters. And these are like long form stories with familiar old friends. So, I mean, and this is why it gets we get a little cranky when you're saying like, why would Logan stop drinking beer and smoking cigars? Because he's got a healing factor. That doesn't make sense. Little things. Yeah.
Ironcaster rightly pointing out in the chat that when Sully says chef's kiss, it is literally chef's kiss.
Yes.
You're literally a chef?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
How
are you not the one that's going to be cooking at Dallas Fan Expo?
I wasn't invited. No, I'm kidding. I could just
You're
throw my ad in the
invited.
ring.
We got a little bit of room at the foot of the bed. Come on.
Ooh. I'm just kidding. I'm thinking about it. I might have the summer off. So
very nice. Well, getting back onto this era of X-Men, which I do think has been largely underwhelming and an enormous waste of time. There were a few highlights out there that I think really worked for me at least. Jim is someone that was new to X-Men. I personally thought Hellions was the high water mark of basically the entire X-Men run post House of X Powers of 10. There was that Fantastic Four versus X-Men from Chip Zdarsky that was pretty good. Way of X was actually pretty good. Probably the best thing Cy Sprayer's ever done that I've read. Were there any high moments for you that you thought were cool at least? Is Jim not there?
I wasn't here for a second. I came in. I liked the Hellions book, and I'm telling you, like Doc said at the beginning, the Hawks and Pox stuff, I actually was kind of excited to get into it. Seemed cool. I didn't understand everything because I wasn't a lifelong reader, but that's why I jumped on, because it seemed like such a cool thing. People seemed to be into it. I was like, all right, this is going to be cool. And then things just started. It was the side books. It was so many other side books, and reading, Teenie Howard and her crazy, let's do medieval, cosplay stuff. And it just ended up, at the point, I kind of just threw up my hands, and I thought, and this is the worst part, I thought, I guess the X-Men aren't for me. Because I thought that it was just kind of me not liking it, thinking that, well, everybody says this is great, and I'm not liking it, so I guess I just don't like the X-Men, which is something I get upset about if a book comes out and it's a shitty book, and the company blames the character, not the writers. I realize now it was more the writers, but yeah.
So did you get to read X Corp from Teenie Howard?
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah,
What did you think was a lower watermark for Teenie Howard? Was it the Betsy Braddock Captain Britain crap or X Corp?
That X Corp was bad, but I think it was the Betsy stuff, because the thing about the Betsy stuff is it was bad, but it kept being bad, and they kept redoing it. And so I was like, really, we're doing this again and again and again, and it just seemed like they were punching you with it. But I think that might have been worse.
I got to disagree with that. Honestly, for me, it was X Corp, because they
thought
were
X Corp was
legitimately
way worse.
They were corporate terrorists threatening nations to buy our pharmaceuticals.
But it ended quick,
if you
and it was
don't buy our
gone.
pharmaceuticals, we're going to kill you.
I'm kind of with Jim, just because they abandoned it.
Yeah, that's
and
kind
it wasn't.
of the deal. Yeah.
It wasn't like the hill that they were willing to die on. Whereas, I feel like the Tinny, Betsy, Captain Britain, Excalibur stuff is only worse because they refuse to give up that land and accept that they weren't going to get that over.
Yeah.
Just because it was such a massive and years-long exercise in their own level of futility.
And it was like you're a football fan and your team goes 1-16 1 year, and then or you're 4-13 for 5 years in a row. It just kept hitting me.
So the Steelers.
Yeah.
The current comic book industry is the very definition of trying to make fetch happen. And it's not going to happen. You've been trying to make all of these comics, like every single mainstream comic, you've basically tried to make it a gay comic. And it's not working because that is a niche audience within an already niche audience. And the majority of your audience is not interested in that. Not because they're bigots, not because they're phobes. They're just not interested in that, and you keep trying to force it, and you keep pushing people away, and then you actually see what happens when you return to form and give people what they want. When Skybound comes in, they take over 2 series that were filled with that sort of nonsense by IDW, and they return them to form and give fans what they want. just exciting action stories based on recognizable characters that they love. And what happens? The sales go up. They're killing it right now. And Skybound is the reason that Image is now the number 2 company on the charts. And DC has fallen to 3.
Well, that's just in the top 10. It's not like overall.
No, but because there's not enough books to support it. But if you had, like, if they had
Yes.
Ninja Turtles as well, if it had gone over to, over to Skybound, if you had them taking on more properties like that people love, you'd see that that happen pretty quickly.
Now, Doc,
go ahead.
We've been reading these X-Men for a long time. There were some high moments. What did you think was the best thing that happened?
I think Hellions probably.
I loved it where they had that empath guy that was complete scumbag, and the Indian guy just wanted to murder him over and over.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things I didn't like about Hellions. It was far from a perfect book, but he managed to make the least annoying version of Kieran Gillen's mincing, flamboyant, flamingly gay Sinister that I can remember.
I was definitely done with the cape jokes.
Yeah, I was done with the cape jokes. But it was the most acceptable and the closest to pre-Kieran Gillen Sinister, so pre-Uncanny X-Men Volume 2 Sinister that we've had in the last 12 years. We will never get that again because they almost made him an actual character again instead of caricature. So I like that. I hated them getting rid of the Scalp Hunter name and just calling him Grey Crow all the time. His name is fucking Scalp Hunter, you giant, massive pussies. It's Scalp Hunter. Fuck.
I did like that he wanted to kill that one dude so badly, though.
I did love him just continuously. Like, they turned empath into fucking South Park Kenny. Like, except for nobody gave a shit that Scalp Hunter killed him every issue.
No, it was like, oh, he had to. What was he gonna do?
Exactly. And you know what? They actually tried to tell a competent story. The cape jokes were definitely way old, but it was probably the closest thing to an actual X-Men comic, especially a more rogue X-Men comic, like the more where they're kind of outlaws. And I always liked X-Men as outlaws. They did it a number of times throughout the years, never really being accepted, just being, but still trying to do the right thing, including adding villains onto the team sometimes. Mike Carey's X-Men, whenever Sabretooth, Lady Mastermind, and Omega Sentinel were all on, and a not even really recently redeemed Gambit was all on the team after Gambit had recently been one of the heralds of apocalypse or one of the horsemen of apocalypse. So I like that, but everything else was, I don't think it was very good. I mean,
I kind of like the Hickman Children of the Vault stuff, but Jerry Duggan really ruined that when he brought that version, Talon, I think is what he called her.
Yeah,
like her back. Like, that was the tragedy of what happened, was that Sync lived 1,000 years and fell in love with her, but she doesn't remember it. And we're like, well, we got to bring her back and kill her again.
Yeah,
whatever, man.
The like what Hickman might have done with the Children of the Vault, and that kind of stuff would have been intriguing, I guess. Except for we never got to see where it was going, so I can't even give it a rating. I think that the worst, it's hard to put my finger on the worst thing in X-Men during this era.
It's very ominous, though, doesn't it? Rami Salami's bringing it up.
You know what? It's up there, but I think Hickman just obviously giving up literally 2 or 3 issues in to X-Men. It was so obvious he had given up already. He had no idea what he wanted to do. He starts adding, the fucking Golden Girls Garden Club on issue like 2 or 3. Like, and there's every single issue's a one and done. There's no coherent story. There's no through line. There's no subplot. I can understand a one and done, but there's not even like continuing subplots in what he was doing. And it was so much of a waste of time. And when there was like, it's like watching for folks that watch the X-Files. Well, a lot of people really did just love the Monster of the Week. Whenever there'd be absolutely no advancement on the mythology for episodes, weeks at a time, it felt like they were just killing time. Like, if you're going to tell the mythology story, then tell the mythology story. If you're going to just have Freak of the Week, then just be a Freak of the Week show. Just be a procedural. But whenever they be in the middle of it's like some of the mythology, and they're not in a holding pattern waiting for an answer for something, and they just randomly have an issue or an episode of Monster of the Week while all this other important shit was going on, it felt like, oh, you're just wasting time. Okay. Yeah. And that's what this felt like.
Well, how quick
we
do you think
call it improv.
How quick do you think Hickman's spirit broke when he had to basically allow Vita Ayala's her ideas to have equal seat at the table?
Yeah. I'm still not giving him a pass. He's the one that brought in half of these people. So,
all right, let's hear what Drew has to say. What are your thoughts on this era of X-Men that's coming to an end? You know, you were doing the top 10 and the skips and mez at the time, so you were reading everything. Any good memories? Any bad memories?
There was one good memory. I think it was when Hickman came back to do an issue. It was like during I think it may have been that first issue of Inferno he did, but or whenever they did that. I think it was Inferno or Hell. I forget what the hell it was called. It was forever ago. Forget it. But just one out of God knows how many books. I mean, most of them were skip-its. I could not recommend a single one of them. And to Doc's point, a lot of the issues, they felt like improv. It felt like literary improv. They were making it up as they went along and just whatever seemed cool of an idea, just going with the idea, even though you need more than just an idea. And you need a through point. You need to have plot. You need to have. We need to know where the story is going. But a lot of them, I really think they didn't have a story. They were just making it up as they went along and just performing improv.
There you go. You got any big high moments or low moments for you, Aaron? Any highs, lows? What's your overall impression at the end of Krakoan era?
It fizzled out so quickly. I was so excited coming off of House of X, and I guess what is now confirmed to be Powers of 10 for me. I was so hyped because I was like, man, it just feels like they're doing something different. It feels like, you know, this isn't really the X-Men, you know, there's going to be some mysteries. I was really kind of invested in the idea that maybe, you know, the X-Men really had been taken over by plant people, you know, and that's why they were a little bit out of character, you know, just ever so slightly. And, you know, these concepts that, you know, the way that Xavier was acting, I was like, that can't be the real Xavier. And I thought it could really, you know, be a self-contained story that lasted a year or two and really meant something. And then you could kind of like relaunch the X-Men and have all of the characters that had died over the years still alive so that you could, you know, kind of refresh it and bring a lot of characters back all at once and have it make sense. And man, by the time we got to that grandma horticulture team, and look, I recognize that Claremont would do stuff like that. He would do like the M Squad and things like that, but it was always a break from, you know, you had a major storyline and it would be like kind of a joke in the background. You know, they started out during Inferno. It was kind of a Ghostbusters riff during Inferno. And then later they show up in the mall as, you know, M Squad just to kind of introduce Jubilee and give you a fun little one-off. But that story was not fun. I was like, it's not fun. It's not funny. It's a stupid idea. And I don't know how this is in the second issue of a relaunch. I don't know how you're already doing filler stories on issue 2. It would be like on the Clerks cartoon where in issue, except it was brilliant there, where in issue 2, they did one of those flashback episodes we used to get on sitcoms, but all they could flash back to was episode 1. And, you know, but that was actually really funny because it was ridiculous. And the second issue of your X-Men relaunch should not be ridiculous. So that was the low point for me. Obviously the 2 miniseries were the high point when I was actually excited for it.
Yeah, you thought that wasn't Somnus wasn't lower, or
I never got to Somnus.
New Mutants
like
Lethal Legion, did you?
No, I had checked out
That's
at that point.
rough.
I mean, I thumbed through all this stuff. I thumbed through to see how awful it is. But I don't buy it, and I don't collect it, and I don't ingest it into my canon of what the X-Men are, because none of this is canon to me.
Is this era of X-Men one of the reasons the stores that you were doing ordering for decided to stop ordering new comics?
Exactly right. Yeah, this was a huge part of it, and what DC was doing at the time. Both companies decided to commit suicide at the same time by chasing an audience that doesn't exist.
All right, let's hear from Sully. Do you have any final thoughts? I know you weren't reading really Marvel comics when it first kicked off.
Right.
You kind of jumped in here at the end. And you even follow the House of X, which I think is a terrible comic book. So you certainly have more of an appreciation for what's going on.
I do. I'm a lifelong X-Men fan. Been reading them for over 40 years. Back where I had 50 cents in a spinner rack at my corner store, and so they're very endearing to me. I've taken long breaks from X-Men before because I went basically. I remember getting this issue 170 and coming back every month until Fall of the Mutants. Then I kind of fell off, came back about Age of Apocalypse, fell off at Onslaught, came back for Grant Morrison's new X-Men, fell off there. So I've had an on again, off again love affair with the X-Men all my life. So for the Krakoan age, I had a lot of hope and potential for it. I was one of those old lapsed fans that came back, that felt like there was the all clear. It's safe to come back now. And I love the design of some of the characters. For me, Rasputin 4, that's like one of my favorite things to come out of all of this. I like this character. And I like her design too. I like the way, because she's supposed to be some mashup character. And it totally works for me. The worst part of this entire thing, to see one vision of a master comic book storyteller come crumbling down with the idea of equity and inclusion. And I'm not knocking those ideas, but this is a good lab to see, how did this fall apart? Too many chefs. Seriously, sometimes you need that singular vision, and then you need a crew to pull it all together and make it happen. But to have everyone saying, oh, this needs more salt, this needs more pepper, this needs more heat. You know what I mean? Maybe you should think about gluten-free. Maybe you should think about, you get too many voices, you get too many things going on, and it kind of just no, I'm going to eat somewhere else. And that's what happened.
Can you imagine Gordon Ramsay going, you know what? I'm going to give equal footing
exactly
to a line cook at Taco Bell. We're going to bring in the mastermind behind Arby's. And we're all going to work together, and we're not going to do my vision of what a menu should be. We're going to do it all together. And everyone's
you
like,
nailed
wow,
it. That's a good way to put it. Would Gordon
garbage.
Ramsay do that? No, he wouldn't. So Jonathan Hickman surrendering his power and vision to his creative control with Jordan White and agreeing to this committee, to the X-Slack. That was the kiss of death on this. I am so grateful I avoided X's swords. I mean, poor Jim. Poor everyone out there that read that and bought it. I mean, aren't those useless comic books that I have enough of those?
I think Wolverine tries to rape a rock in that one.
Oh my goodness.
No, it wasn't Wolverine, it was the Gorgon.
Yes.
Oh,
Gorgon goes and fucks a rock.
But you know what?
And then a rock ended up in the Star Wars High Republic.
Yeah.
So it's the baby of Gorgon and this random rock.
I take it all back, guys. There's really some great synergy.
It's all connected,
dude. It's you just gotta unfocus your eyes. You'll see the sailboat.
Your guys' too many cooks analogy works, but you also have to add in the fact that then Gordon Ramsay surrenders overall control to a circus clown.
Yeah,
true. I mean, seriously, it just that's where it fell apart. Hickman's known for just having these huge sprawling stories that last for years, but have an intricate lattice work of an architecture. I'm impressed by him. He's not my favorite writer. I mean, Gods is boring. It really, but it's pretty and it works as a story. And I wasn't there for the Illuminati and the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, but people can't shut up about those runs. People like Hickman. He got his power taken away for power sharing, for the postmodern equity model. And guess what? It didn't sell.
We could do a whole show about this, and I feel like we're almost in danger of doing that. But Wes has so many other good topics that he's laid out for us. I feel like we should move on.
I
Good stuff to say. What do you got to say, Doc?
I was just going to say, Jonathan Hickman gets a lot of credit for effectively stealing a lot of Warren Ellis's ideas. His entire
And a novel. He stole a plot from a novel.
Yes, he stole a plot from the novel of a novel for his X-Men idea. His entire Avengers and Fantastic Four was stolen from Warren Ellis's New Universal. That's it, it's adding all the New Universe shit in there and the whole the super flow and all the rest of the way that the Marvel
George Lucas
multiverse
basically
works.
stole Star Wars from a Japanese director, and he made it better. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but he did it in space, which is very different. But no, like Warren Ellis's all of his New Universal stuff was already superhero comics fare, and they had already established what the structure of the Marvel multiverse was long before, and then Jonathan Hickman just came in, stole what Warren Ellis had done. That's why the New Universe and the Marvel Universe never crossed over before, because they're in different multiverses. But now suddenly the Marvel Universe is in the same multiverse as New Universal. It never made any sense, and that's why I didn't even get on all the hype behind his Fantastic Four and Avengers stuff, because I'm like, you shat all over the entire structure of Marvel's multiverse. You just threw it away, even though we had 50 years of explaining it. And then you just stole from Warren Ellis. Good job, I guess.
All right. Well, let's hear from the peoples. We do have some people who want to speak. Federico de la Casa says, I've got friends who are historians and debunking Alexander docuseries after the Jada Pinkett Cleopatra fail. Once documentaries were done by historians. Yeah. Netflix is just real fucking shady at this point, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
They used to do some pretty decent stuff. But if you like Alexander, do not go and see that docuseries. There is so much stuff just in the very beginning of it that is completely off. And obviously, I don't know, maybe somebody's meme off fucking told him what Alexander was really like, Aaron.
I see what you did there. Yeah, because one person's Mima said that, no, this is how Alexander was. The documentarian went in and said, look, in spite of everything that we know historically, this is what my grandma said. That would be like, that'd be like doing anything historically. Be like, hey, you know what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Hannibal and on all the things Hannibal did. And you're like, oh, okay, so how much studying have you done about this? No, I was talking to some guy behind the 7-Eleven, and he had some thoughts. So that's what I'm going to build my thesis on.
Some crazy ideas, that guy.
I was talking to Sully on the internet, and he said,
he told me Alexander was an astronaut.
It especially works with that accent when you say, yeah. So this guy Sully, I know. This guy Sully, he says.
he says to me, pal.
So
let me tell you about the real Hannibal.
Robbie Slavi says, you got to watch the Ottoman series. That was actually pretty well done. So I did read the Mehmed the Conqueror Ottoman Empire stuff. And the first one is actually really, really good when they end up taking over Constantinople, which at that point was an unconquerable city-state. Basically, I guess the last vestiges of the Roman Empire or whatever. But the second part of that, where he fights Vlad the fucking Impaler from Romania or whatever, that entire thing is bullshit. They even talk about it the entire thing. Legend states that perhaps, Vlad the Impaler did this or perhaps that. And I was so mad on that second one because it was not nearly as historically
Was it
accurate.
a breakdance battle or something?
Yeah, well, they wanted to do a thing with Mehmed the Conqueror versus, the guy that inspired Dracula.
Epic rap battles of history.
Epic.
I mean, Vlad the Impaler was a pretty bad dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't really have to make up stuff. He really impaled people. And he even had a process to keep them alive when he did it. So you had a pole stuck up your butt, not your mouth, and you were still breathing, sort of.
Yeah.
So, he was a bad dude. But the very first one's actually pretty darn good. Very, very interesting, the way that he used cadence back in the day. Federico de la Casa says, Doc has a point. We have to remember that even Claremont's run on Extreme X-Men were not as big a success. What do they expect? X-Men Jim Lee numbers.
Let me interject here. I believe you misread that super chat. I think you might have a little bit of a problem with your eyes, sir. It says Doc is
I'm getting older. I'm 46 years old today.
Right.
You're like the Fonz.
Hey,
We'll never probably get X-Men numbers close to Jim Lee or Claremont again.
Well, honestly, Chris's return to X-Men that spun off into Extreme X-Men, it wasn't really well liked. When he came back around the 100th issue of X-Men 100 and then Uncanny 381, it wasn't, for the most part, it wasn't super loved. And then he only made it like 12 issues on both of them before they're like, this isn't working. The magic's not there again. And that's when they spun it off into, so you really only had the people that were interested in the plots he had going on in those two books that went on to Extreme X-Men. And you had the alternative of Morrison and his first take, and Morrison had all the hype train behind him at the time, and then he promptly gave us Chris Claremont's greatest hits. And fucked up the X-Men in a lot of ways in the process. So
and no one's ever gotten Quentin Quire right since.
Yeah, exactly.
He had his complete arc.
Yeah.
And should not be the same character that he was in those stories, but all anybody can do is go back and write him as he was in that story.
Yeah, and honestly, the reason why Jim Lee X-Men numbers had the hype they did is because you had 17 years of turning the X-Men from steady progression, from turning from a canceled book into the #1 franchise in comics. By a large margin. I mean, it was beating it to the point where they were contemplating changing the index to the X-Men index instead of the Batman index for how they were determining sales on books and the percentage ranking based on sales of Batman. They were going to switch it to sales of X-Men because it was such a consistent seller, and it was increasing on such a on a steady path of progression. So you had almost 2 decades behind it of hype that was continuing to grow month to month. So that's why you can't even get 2 issues, much less two decades now.
Nah. Caleb says they pandered to shippers, and some of them were more driven by their sexual fetish and depravity, like Mystique growing and the Grape Dreams, so on. You are going to love the video that Doc and I recorded before we started Aficionados. It's basically about exactly what you're talking about here, Callum. And I think at this point, Aaron, C.B. Cebulski and Jordan White and Kieran Gillen and everybody associated with this era of X-Men got exactly what they deserved.
I think that, nobody at X-Men got what they deserved, and nobody at Marvel gets what they deserved until someone comes in and completely cleans house and just fires everybody from top to bottom and restructures that company.
Well, mentioning top to bottom, I'm talking about the article talking about who's topping and who's bottoming between Hercules and Iceman.
Well, we got Joe Glass.
That's what they deserve. That's the coverage that they wanted.
That's right. That's exactly what they wanted. That's the audience that you sought out. That's the audience that's keeping your sales low. So congratulations. X-Men used to be accessible to everybody, and it used to have something for everybody. And now it's written for a very niche audience. And that's fine if you want to do that. But you can't complain that your sales are in the toilet when you make that decision. And
Good
so
call.
you guys are just reaping what you've sown. And I have no faith in this new era. I don't think that Tom Brevoort has a vision. I don't think that he's the guy to bring on. I think it's just one of those things where, Dan Buckley likes him, and he's like, look, if you don't resurrect the X-Men, we're going to have to say best of luck in your future endeavors. So this is literally the only job that we can offer you to keep you on board. I think that's exactly how this went down. And Tom doesn't care for the X-Men. He doesn't have a vision for it. He's already said the message is the X-Men.
It's the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the brand.
That's not so. And it doesn't have to be so. You know, you can make an exciting action adventure book with those themes, but not where it's just a heavy-handed lecture every month. And that's all they can do because all they can afford now is talentless activists.
Lade
Meet the
says
new boss, same as the old boss. Nothing's going to change.
Yep.
Lade says the end for me was when Hope sniped Celine and then resurrected her so Exodus and her could mentally assault her and then break her neck. Heroism died and I was out.
It's fine if they're all villains and then we find out that the real mutants are all contained underneath the island in the vault. You know, that's fine. You know, that would have worked. And
I
you
really
could've
thought
built
that's
that.
what was going to happen.
Yeah. And Krakoa was originally a bad guy. So, like, this could be a bad guy's master plan all this time. You know? I mean,
I'll take
we're
that.
missing something. You know?
That's what they were laying out.
I will take slightly predictable and awesome over unpredictable and terrible any day of the week.
Yes, I'll take that over making Nightcrawler a gleefully murdering psychopath.
Here's where I'm at right now. I'm looking at the X-Men and their weird Tumblr crowd target audience. It's almost like the shipper of Theseus. If you change everyone out, if you change every component of the X-Men to gay, is it still the X-Men?
Well, yeah, if you take everybody who was talented and worked on those Rocksteady games, is the company still Rocksteady or is it Rocksteady in name only? And that's what we've got here with the X-Men. It's just X-Men in name only. It's a husk that they have hollowed out and stuffed with their bullshit and are going, look, the X-Men, but it's just a skin suit. And that's why we can all move on. As much as I hate to, as much as I would love to just be reading X-Men every month and still be in love with those characters, you know, as they are, as opposed to how they used to be. As much as I would love that, it's not worth it. It's not worth the heartache. So, you know, we got to move on. We got to create new things. We have to create new franchises amongst ourselves. You know, Wes, you got to sit down and finally write that comic. You know, we got to be out there doing new stuff because the old stuff has been taken over by cultural vandals. And unfortunately, because it does exist within the corporate environment, this is, go watch the D-Files on Film Threat, where they're talking about how people were actively recruited from Tumblr into the animation, in the animation side of Disney. And that's why it's failing. And the same thing happened in comics. They started recruiting from Tumblr. They started recruiting these shippers, and these people got their claws into these characters without the talent to back it up. And this is the end result. And Marvel is flailing. The X-Men are not going to get any better. Do not dare to hope it has left these lands.
Caleb says, I get that a lot on social media as well, talking, I believe, or responding to Sully. One that stuck out was a self-proclaimed voice actor who's trans, and they said your language is primitive. What?
He was talking like Ringo and Caveman.
I can't do it, man, with the pronoun speak. I can hear how stupid I sound when I'm speaking it. And I can't even try anymore. I wanted to be nice, and I just can't do it because the rules change every single fucking day on this shit.
Not only do the rules change every day, the rules change with the same person on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and when they change, like a lot of times, obviously you don't know, and you get attacked instead of, maybe just tell us sometime, and and let us decide what's going. Like you just get attacked because the rule changed 5 minutes ago.
Nobody owes you that. At the end of the day, that's your issue. And nobody in this, whatever your issues are, whether it's that or whether it's anything else, like here's the harsh truth. It's no one else's responsibility to deal with your issues and your frailties. If they do make some concessions for you, they're being polite, and you should be grateful of that. But they are not required to, and it's ridiculous to go through life thinking that everybody needs to conform to your vision of what your life is. That's not the way the world works. That's never the way the world's going to work. You got away with it for a couple of years while everybody was afraid, but now the normies have woken up, and they've gone, we're not doing this. So, the pushback is coming, and you the harder you push, the more the pendulum swings back the other way. So maybe just be grateful when people acknowledge, the world the way that you want to see it, but don't expect it because it's not going to happen 9 times out of 10.
I was raised to be a polite person, but at this point, I just don't care anymore. I think the fucking shutdowns and the way people were treated with not getting the shot really changed my outlook on people and me being polite to them. I'm more like a fuck it.
Compassion fatigue is real. It's a real thing, man. And it sucks because we're just other humans out there. And and they have feelings too, and just with this constant neediness, the constant activist thing, it's just like activism is important and it's needed in this world, but can you get it out of my escapism, please?
And
Also,
I still
I don't
go
respect...
from being a kid. When you just didn't talk about politics or religion, I kind of still go with that. I just,
It's only the people that, it's only the people that want to live their lives as a victim that care about you always making yourself a victim. No one else respects it. It's actually unrespectable. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, make your life better, take responsibility for yourself. That's what people respect. People don't respect this victim mentality at all. And honestly, it does you no good. It just lets you stay lazy and not getting a real job and asking for people to send you money on Ko-Fi because you can't afford groceries.
They also
Make
don't
asylums.
Hey, learn to cook.
Make asylums great again.
Life sucks. Get a crash.
Come on, guys. Doc, Kaiser Soze wants to know, or Jose, I'm sorry. What's your opinion on the Curse of the Mutants?
That was, for those that don't know, Curse of the Mutants was the story arc, I guess, that was the launch of X-Men Adjectiveless X-Men Volume 2. So it lasted for 40 issues or so.
I thought Curse of the Mutants was Grant Morrison.
No, Curse of the Mutants was the...
No, it's just his overall impact.
Oh, yeah. Well, his is the Curse of the Mutants. But the actual Curse of the Mutants storyline, it was Blood Hunt, but 18 years ago when they did it the first time, and it wasn't very good. We got Vampire Jubilee for the next couple of years as a result. I still don't know if she's not a vampire anymore. They unvampired her. But yeah, that's really the only thing. It was just Blade and the X-Men versus Dracula for like a year. And it really wasn't, it was okay. It's better than everything being published now, but that's the reason why I have no interest in Blood Hunt, because I already read this story once.
Very nice. Kalichi, okay, have you guys heard that Warner Brothers are admitting Suicide Squad is a flop? All 4 Arkham games have higher player counts than a recently released February title. That's pretty crazy, Drew, that you can have games that were released over a decade ago that have more active players than the same exact production company with a lot of the same characters, but released, within the calendar year, or I guess within the calendar month. True.
It's insane. Like, I'm not a big video game player, but when I read the article on that, I could not believe it. It just shows you that whatever agenda, clearly there was an agenda with this game, and what they had with it, audience doesn't want it, audience isn't buying it, give us what we wanted. And it's sending a loud and clear message, not just with video games, but with movies too. And it I know we brought it up in the past, but like, what is it going to take? How many blows to the head is it going to take for them to realize, you know what, maybe we should fix this?
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
69.
Yeah.
Well,
Dude.
Hogwarts Legacy flopped, so you can't do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was terrible.
Biggest flop of the year, yeah.
Well, such a successful boycott, and it really proved that these people on Twitter that have this, this radical agenda, it really proves the buying power that they have. Because, man, when they said nobody buy Hogwarts Legacy, everybody listened, right? Everybody snapped to attention and said, "You're right. We'll stand with you, arm in arm, and not give J.K. Rowling any money."
Some of my favorite social media tweets, like my favorite social media post ever is the Trump taco bowl from Trump Tower. But like my second favorite ones are like people with entire sleeves of Harry Potter saying, "I can't believe this is on my arm because she's a TERF," or whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful.
That's why you don't get tattoos.
Yeah.
Or things that, like, can you imagine if I'd gotten a Star Wars tattoo back in the day? I was like, man, I really love Boba Fett. Let me get the Mythosaur skull tattooed on my arm, and then I had to sit there with my tattoo watching Book of Boba Fett.
I
I'd
hear
been cutting
this
that thing
Jar
off with a
Jar
butter
Binks
knife.
guy's gonna be big. Tattoo that shit up.
Dude, I got this.
Hopefully, Aaron, you'd be an adult enough to realize that you can still like The Mandalorian, even if Kathleen Kennedy is now in charge of Star Wars or Boba Fett.
I don't even wear my Star Wars shirts out in public anymore because I don't want people thinking I like that bullshit.
I only wear Star Wars stuff associated with the original trilogy.
I mean, that's all I own. But yeah, I just don't want anybody going like, "Oh, you like Star Wars? Hey, what'd you think of Ahsoka?" I don't need to have that conversation at the grocery store because I will just end up upsetting somebody. It was already bad enough at Thanksgiving. I had somebody across the table from me saying, yeah, I really like that Ahsoka show, and I just had to like bite my tongue because I was like, I'm not going to get into a political discussion at the Thanksgiving table.
Exactly.
And for me, Star Wars is politics.
Yeah.
Nerd says another thing done by committee: Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. I mean, do you know that in the Rise of Skywalker physical media, the Blu-ray, there are no deleted scenes? I mean, in Star Wars, every other of the 8 movies have behind the scenes, like documentary features and edited scenes, deleted scenes. And also, come on, Marvel Comics fans, you're out there too. I mean, I grew up with Marvel Star Wars comic books, and especially the movie adaptations. And then Dark Horse did a great job in the prequels. Well, Star Wars went back to Marvel with Disney. They did not release the episode 9 comic book adaptation because it was based upon those earlier pre-reshoot things done by committee. And you had too many chefs once again.
Jackson, the space rabbit from the original Marvel Star Wars run, is a better character than anything Disney has put
I like
into those
Jackson.
movies.
Nerd also says, shocking, the top stream shows are 2010s and earlier. Yeah, I saw that article as well, where they did the wrap up of the top minutes earned over the year. But you do have to realize some of those shows have like 200 or 300 episodes.
Yeah.
Where the newer stuff might have, 13 or fewer.
Yeah, but people are looking for entertainment that actually entertains. There's that leaked Disney exec tirade. The problem is the fans. The problem is that when we say we want better stories, when we say we want good movies, what we're really saying is that we don't want all this DEI, all this diversity. We want male leads, and it's all this regressive all these regressive things and stereotypes, and it's like, look, I don't know.
That's what you want to hear. Then that's what you heard. Just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think that this bold new direction you're going in, but everything that you put on the screen is a stereotype. The girl boss is a stereotype. It's not a stereotype that exists, but it's now a stereotype within cinema, within entertainment.
I'm going to just start agreeing with them. Yes, that's all I want. All I want is male characters in every movie. I just want them to continuously remake the tactical team from the beginning of Predator. That's all I want in every movie all the time. I want rom-coms with it. I want I want Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, pull the Rock in. I just take the cast of the Expendables and just put them in literally every movie.
There
in every role in every
Predator
movie.
in it.
Rom-com with the sexual Tyrannosaurus. We have that. It can,
All right,
a lot of
guys.
stuff. Be great.
Let's get back on track. Too many jokers around here. Rate X7. Maybe Hickman's X-Men run failed because he's never had any intention of finishing the story. It was just a quick paycheck for him.
No.
I do not believe this one, Jim.
No.
Because he talked about he had a 3-year plan for this story.
He wanted to
middle, and
finish
end.
it. Yeah. And
Like it was already mapped out before he got started. And he's still at Marvel Comics. You know what I mean? It wasn't just there for the payday.
No, and he had a plan. Supposedly he had it laid out. They got to the point where things were going to change. They told him it wasn't. And hey, we'll just keep doing this a little bit. And then he got frustrated and quit. And like Doc said, a lot of the blame is the people that he had put in place, especially then when he left. And, that was all that was left. When he was there, maybe he could, finagle things and whatnot. But once he left, it was a disaster. But he left because he got pissed off.
This is a great outline, Mr. Hickman, but Teeny Howard has some notes.
Yeah, and it's like that middle part. Let's expand that. Like 5 pages.
What if he sat here for 5 years instead of doing it in one?
Yeah, and that's not, he's doing enough, and, he didn't want to do that. So he just told them to go screw themselves. I'm sure it upset him.
Grateful Dog wants to know from Drew, Death Rage or Born of Blood returning anytime soon?
Oh man, it's tough to talk about that.
It's painful.
As far as I know, what's that?
It's painful.
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
I'm also going to say no.
Doesn't appear to be coming anytime soon. But if it show up, be very happy that it returned, because I
Well,
know
the,
Drew has a lot of stuff to say about it.
A lot of the
Yes.
ideas that Drew had for Born of Blood and that I had for Death Rage are being recycled into independent projects. So, I mean, even if they did go forward, I don't know that they'd go forward with us, and I don't know that they would be the same, because those things are getting reworked.
There we go. WraithX7. It wouldn't surprise me if Hickman never had any idea what to do or how to conclude his X-Men storyline. I don't believe that, because he literally said in the interviews it was supposed to be a 3-year play and he had an exact ending point. And the reason that he left is because all the other writers in the X-Men office didn't want to go to the end. They liked the current state of X-Men, and they wanted to expand upon the time on Krakoa rather than getting to the end state, which obviously was going to include the Phalanx and Dominions and all these other kind of huge ideas, Doc, that you were really excited about, but we never really got back to.
No, we did.
I guess recently
until just now. They took step one, and then that was House and Powers, and they showed us the roadmap, and then everybody went to step one, and then they just fucked around there for 4 years, and now they're jumping to step 21 and expect us to act like they did the 19 steps between, the 20 steps between, and that I should give a shit. Why? Oh, then everything that was between Hawks and Pox and Fall and Rise of My Balls,
Yes,
My favorite.
nailed it.
irrelevant. Everything between there was utterly and completely irrelevant and just a waste of paper. It was meandering bullshit to just spin around in a circle. That's all they were doing. They were like, okay, we're going to walk, spin around in a circle 400,000 fucking times, and then somehow try to convince us that we're dumb, because these retards stuck around in the middle, and that somehow that could teleport you to the fucking end of the race. Like, why didn't I win this race? I don't know. I didn't actually run the middle 99% of the story. And now you're just taking me to the end of it. That doesn't make a compelling story.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nerd says omelette du fromage. Omelette du fromage.
D'accord, mais oui. That's an old Steve Martin joke. I know French. Omelette du fromage.
Fragile.
Must be
Must
Italian.
be French. Or is it Italian?
Yeah.
I only know
I love
Italian.
that line.
The duck is smiling at me.
Boopy.
Oh man, I love omelets. Caleb says, in what Aaron said, most of them talk about their struggle. I imagine he's talking about the whiny internet weirdos on Twitters that want you to conform to their speech patterns.
They live in the most secure time, basically, in this country. Although it's headed in the opposite direction. Don't you worry. But these are people who've never really had to struggle. Life has been easy for them. They've never been outside of the country. They've never seen how the rest of the world lives. There's areas, hey, you know what? You want to talk about your struggle? Why don't you fly down to Haiti and do some volunteer work there for a while and then come back and tell me how hard your life is?
Or
And then
you
I'll
could go
listen to you.
teleport back to the 80s and grow up as a latchkey kid and basically unsupervised and see how safe it was.
Yeah. That's
There's
why
a
we
can
all
of
have
SpaghettiOs on the counter. That is dinner. I'll see you at 9:30.
Elio's
for me, it
pizza
was
in the
Dinty.
freezer.
For me, it
Dinty
was
more beef
Dinty
stew.
more beef.
I
stew.
love Denny Moore.
And they
so
didn't
good.
even have, it wasn't like the pull tab ones now. You actually had to go and find the can opener and
Yeah.
operate it correctly.
Yeah, the
No,
problem
you're
with
good
this
to walk
people,
to school for 2 miles
Yeah.
in the dark.
both
That'd
ways.
be fun.
Yeah, just hop a public bus. Sure,
Yeah,
you're
It was
9.
dark
Who
when I came
cares?
back.
Exactly.
You know what was cool
Take
on
the
when
subway.
I was in
bus.
junior high and I had to walk to the bus stop, along the route, there was somebody who had a wading pool in their front yard, and there was a goose that lived in it. And every day that goose would get out of the wading pool, walk with me to the rest of the way to the bus stop, and then I would wait till I got on the bus and then go home.
The goose was more of a mother than your own mother.
It's Aaron
Yes, I still,
Doolittle.
Oh, it was
I still
actually
keep in touch with
Zeus.
that goose.
I love seeing it when you have like a sheepdog that's herding kids and keep them in the front yard. Very wholesome stuff.
That goose would have defended me.
Galb also said on the Suicide Squad, Gabe Altabe called them out. Gabe was supposed to be on the channel about a year and a half ago, but something happened. I don't remember what it was. He's a decent guy.
Maybe he got too
I bet
big.
Gabe.
But get it? He's like 6'6".
Is he?
I think
He's a mountain of a man.
Yeah, big man comics. That's it.
I understand why. Mark Brooks was shitting himself when he thought that Gabe would come by his booth.
Federico de la Casa. I never thought that talking comics and pop culture is now a political stance, being accused of racism by spoiled teens that don't even love comic books.
Well, yeah. I mean, they culturally annexed our stuff. I think it's because, 30 years of political correctness in colleges, they understood the impact that these pop cultures had on us, the 80s and 90s kids. That, for me personally, what saved me from Christianity, I guess, Irish Catholicism, it was George Lucas's The Force. The nuns in parochial school could not compete with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they were jealous.
Well, in fairness, a lot of the fact that it is a political statement is part and parcel why we need to go back and start shoving nerds in lockers again. We really fucking do.
Need to beat up the theater kids.
Yeah, we need a full and complete stop on theater kids. Honestly, I'm personally of the opinion that if any kid was a theater kid and they do not end up in a career on television, on Broadway, off Broadway, or in Vegas, we need to round them up, put them in a camp, possibly into a spaceship, and shoot them into the sun. They should not be permitted as part of normal society if they were a theater kid. Sorry, you made your choice.
That's how we end up with the planet and Captain Marvel. You're just shooting the theater kids into space.
No, I should shoot them into the fucking sun. That way they can't come back and bug us.
I need a political ad with Doc. Just throw kids in lockers again. We need to beat up the nerds. And then Doc at the end, he approves the message. So
Doc would be like that Bill Burr candidate when Bill Burr talks about, we need a candidate who's like 50% of you have got to go. Let me finish.
That's what I get it. That the political ad will be shoving nerds in lockers, and then at the end, Doc is like, I don't approve this because we also have to shoot him into the sun. He just starts yelling.
If you were a theater kid that did not end up involved in a theater-related profession as an adult, you do not belong in the normal workforce or the rest of the social world. You have no function. You made your decision. You were infected by this virus way too long ago, and now you're just out wandering about trying to infect other people.
Oof.
Man.
Like
Bluto on a roll, right?
Yeah. You know what I'd say about, it's an election year, so I would tell anyone of any age, 18 or over, read Transmetropolitan by Warren Ellis and Derek Robertson. You want some politics and comics? There you go. It's there for you right there. It's an election year in the United States. You literally have the choice of the Smiler or the Beast. Once again,
I could just say that if having common sense and stating fact as fact is a political statement, I guess I'm a political statement kind of guy. I'm just going to
listen. If you want to know everything you need to know about political parties and being aligned with political parties and taking your marching orders from political parties instead of viewing both political parties with suspicion, I suggest that you go watch more of George Carlin's stand-up and absorb it until you understand the way that the world really works.
Blue Gundam 13 says, I'm curious what the panel thinks when people say X-Men has always been woke, but love the videos. By the way, they've helped me read some new stuff that's good. Glad to always help out people finding new great comic books. That's what Jim and I are all about in our Patreon podcast, and certainly what Drew and I are all about on the Best of the Week that we do every single Saturday evening. We got another video coming today. The X-Men has always been woke fallacy. So basically, in the 80s or whatever, there are interviews with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby both stating that we created the X-Men because we didn't want to create origins. That's why mutants exist. We didn't want to have to come up with another complex, specific origin for the characters, and it was basically a shortcut that they got to use. But obviously, after God Loves Man Kills and all that kind of stuff, everyone wanted to use the X-Men as an analogy for civil rights. Jack Kirby passed away, obviously, along the way. And then Stan Lee, obviously, being the used car salesman that he is, and he does like to spin his own history and make himself be the good guy, basically just changed his story in the 2000s, Doc.
Yep. Yeah, if you go and talk to Stan's explanation for why the X-Men were created had changed more times than I've changed my underwear this week. Right. Every time you ask him why he created the X-Men the way he did, he always had a different answer depending on what was the correct answer socially at that moment. You could ask him again, and if the winds of social discourse had changed, his answer will change. So, as much as I like Stan, I mean, he was a great carnival barker for the comic industry. The man, as a comic book historian,
He's no Roy Thomas.
No.
But the thing is, think of
I
what
don't
you
believe
said.
a word that comes out of his mouth.
The thing, though, that because of how it is so universal, he was able to do that, and that's kind of the key. It ends up it's able to morph because of how good it was universally that everybody can look into it and like it. But that's what's missing in a lot of things now. It's so specific and rammed down your throat that you wouldn't be able to do that.
Let me put this stupid argument to bed with, really easily. The X-Men has never been woke, because woke is a thing that is just, is kind of a term and a philosophy that has come about in the last few years.
You're suffering from presentism,
Yes. The X-Men has often been about equality. Woke is about equity, which is not the same thing. So no, the X-Men have not been woke until this current era with these activists taking over the property. Up until now, it's been about equality, which is something that I think we can all agree on. Whereas equity is dragging people down so that everybody is in the mud together. Whereas equality is reaching a hand down to help people up when they have the desire to come up, when they have the ambition to come up. That's what equality is. And that's the difference.
Well, there's just been a lot of people that have gone back and decided, since this is something that people like, we're going to say that this is what it always was and go change the history of it. And if you could continuously say something over time, there are people dumb enough out there that will just believe you over time, and they won't question it.
And a lot of it's perspective. That they weren't there, and people don't really, we're all getting older, and you realize that, like the idea that something comes up and you're like, that's not what it was like. That didn't happen like that, and they don't get that.
So many of these people are victims of the public education system, and the public education system is not interested in a critically thinking populace. So, they've not been taught to look at things that way, and therefore they don't. They just accept what they've heard. They never look into it, and they never analyze it.
Yeah. Calvin also says people need to watch Demolition Man. I put on Demolition Man the other night because it's on Netflix now. And I put it on because I knew my wife had never seen it. And she ended up watching the whole way through. She loved it. She thought it was amazing. She thought it was hilarious.
Nice.
Everything is Taco Bell shit.
A lot of
high fives where they don't touch each other because they're germaphobes.
Yep.
All that shit.
Remember the future where everyone is androgynous, fast, moo wearing pussies that are afraid to offend each other? Not so fucking funny now, is it?
Rob Schneider saying, "We're the police. We're not capable of handling this kind of violence." Oh, perfect. Very good. It kind of, remember when they had the police holding people back from going in and saving their children? Like, you need to stand back here and wait for this to end. Like, my God, what the fuck happened to people?
And I feel like there's an entire generation out there right now that needs to be strapped to a chair, Clockwork Orange style, with their eyes held open and forced to be subjected to repeated viewings of Demolition Man and PCU. And possibly Dazed and Confused.
And Idiocracy.
Idiocracy is what I would
Yes. Yeah. You just play them on loop for like 3 months. Maybe it will, I don't know. They'll either break their brain, in which case I don't really care because you're weak. Or
I still know how the three seashells work.
Nobody
He
knows.
doesn't know how the seashells work.
Okay. Somebody's asking PCU with a question. Kaiser Soze. Dude, go find that
Politically
movie.
correct university. Yeah.
Yes,
that's
it didn't actually have a name, but it's just PCU.
It's got Jon Favreau in it, right?
John Favreau's
Yeah.
in it.
The pothead?
Jeremy Piven.
Jeremy Piven.
David Spade as a
George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic.
Yep, as a douchey like
As himself.
Republican frat bro. It's such a generation. It's Animal House for Generation X.
Man.
It's pretty good.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Nerd-
fucking great.
Also says, how could you guys forget the Dexter's Lab episode where Omelette de Fromage was all he could say, and that perfect password ending? Comics Today.
Never watched it.
Did you fuck this
Never
up?
watched it.
No, George.
You totally messed up this.
Steve Martin said that in 1977.
Are you saying they recycled the joke?
Yes, it's a pop culture reference. I'm a wild and crazy
He says
guy.
it's a Dexter's Laboratory reference.
I have no idea what Dexter is.
He hates these cans.
You don't remember Dexter's Laboratory? The little kid that.
I didn't watch that stuff or the Powerpuff Girls.
He's an adult.
Did you like Pinky and the Brain?
Dude, I love Pinky and the Brain.
That was a good show.
Well, why?
I love the Animaniacs too. That was great.
Are you pondering the same thing I'm pondering, Pinky? Well, yeah, but why would kids buy them if they were called sad meals, Brain? No.
My favorite, and I don't know if I've misremembered this, so maybe the chat can correct me. But I seem to remember watching an episode with my brother where there was a joke where he said, the same thing we do, or he goes, Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? And Pinky goes, oh, I think so, Brian, but this time you wear the tutu. And Brain just looks into the camera and goes, and then just moves on.
Callum says that was actually a Simpsons episode. So are we really melting all this pop culture up?
Holy moly.
It's the Streisand effect, right?
The
Or is it the
Mandela.
Mandela effect?
Yeah, the
can't get
Streisand effect is when you bring attention to something that you're mad about and would have gone under the radar, but you end up creating your own opposition because you brought attention to it.
So YouTube has it Dexter's Laboratory. You put in Omelette de Fromage, and that's what comes up. There's no Simpsons in there. I even typed in Simpsons, and it doesn't come up. So I think it might be Dexter's Laboratory. Maybe yeah.
The Simpsons probably still did it anyway.
They
probably
did it
stole
beforehand and
fucking
absolutely
Jonathan
predicted
Hickman
it.
of fucking animators, right? Just stealing everyone's ideas. Like goodness.
Yeah, oh my.
Well, we only got through the one thing today.
I tried, Wes. I tried to pivot.
Yeah, I think that
It's
a
amazing,
while
man.
ago,
People
about
wanted
an
to
hour
talk
ago.
about X-Men, man.
It's a big
a
subject.
Weird time. Yeah.
We love the X-Men. I mean, we've been talking about the X-Men all week on social media. We didn't even get to X-Men 97. Jeez.
Or DC's
How
big
did
event.
the flat ass controversy doesn't do it for me? I'm like, whatever, man. Shitty animators. What do you want?
Yeah.
They should have sent it over to Japan if they wanted it to look good.
Rogue got cakes, and now she don't. There. The end.
They turned the Danger Room into a safe space.
Modern
We had
approved
Danger
bodies
Island
Rogue.
on Krakoa, and they never did anything with it.
Yeah.
Right, Doc?
I mean,
Was it
I would
Danger
say they
Island?
never did anything with Krakoa.
They never did
Nothing
anything
meaningful.
with anything in Krakoa. They
All right. Well, let's not do.
Nothing.
We've already
Sex
talked about
with
this
rocks.
enough. It's time to talk about some sex with rocks. My goodness. Comic book recommendations. Let's
Getting your
talk
rocks off.
about the Ten of Swords, the better. That had to be a Titty Howard idea. So, Sully, what are you recommending this week? You got any comic books you think people should
I got
read?
comic books this week. It was actually a bigger week than I thought. I got 8 floppies this week. Here is the ubiquitous brown paper flat bag that we get from our local comic book shops when we go there to spend our money and get physical copies. Remember, love your comic books. I got the Incredible Hulk #9, and I got a variant cover. That's pretty cool. It's a
Did you
pretty
like
good
it?
story. The art is a little
art is
flat.
Terrible.
And I mean, I miss Nick Klein does a good job at making hand-drawn onomatopoeia when he's on duty. And because the Hulk is a loud comic book, that means it's
So woo's
plenty
better
of-
at that, Nick Klein or Daniel Warren
Nick
Johnson?
Klein, yeah, because it's a
He's
loud comic book.
Better
and-
than Daniel Warren Johnson.
no. I mean, they work in harmony. It's like saying who's better, the pitcher or the
No,
catcher.
you have to make a choice, man.
But then Philip Kennedy Johnson, yeah, because I've been reading him like everywhere. Here's my my variant cover for Ultimate Spider-Man 2. And it says, "Face it, Tigress, you've hit the jackpot. Isn't that cutesy-utsy? Oh, silly Billy." I got last week's Green Lantern #8 that I missed
That's
out
a
on.
great one.
Hey, if anyone out there, old Hellblazer readers, I mean, Cy Spurrier is crushing it on this. It's called John Constantine Hellblazer, Dead in America, and it's a black label on DC, and it's pretty much the closest thing we'll get to original on-brand John Constantine as we'll ever
Especially
get.
if you like the
ever again.
dialogue only with no story elements other than dialogue.
I love old Constantine, and I got this finishes up Ronin book 2. It's 6 of 6 from Frank Miller Presents. This is really interesting. I mean, the story kind of beguiles me, but the art in it is amazing. It's Frank Miller line work with Henriquez's inks, so it's totally old school. The story is a little confusing, but damn, this is a good comic book. I mean, hand-drawn lettering by John Workman. Come on. Splash page every page. I got G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 304. Really good comic book. I got Cobra Commander #2. Excellent stuff. It's fun. Sign me up. And you know what? My pick of the week has got to be Superman issue #11. This is good. Joshua Williamson
over Amazing or Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yes. I mean,
wow,
they could be a tie or one of each house.
Crazy.
You know, I mean, this is my favorite Marvel of the week, my favorite DC of the week. And but I mean, Superman, it's a fun story. It's the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad. And I'm here for it. I'm liking this. So and it's good to see too, because this is chapter 11 in a year-long arc. So we kind of are getting longer arcs by different writers. We're getting like, it looks like we're getting a year of Hulk with Philip Kennedy Johnson. We're getting like we're definitely getting
3 years of Venom from Al Ewing. We've gotten was it 3 years of Detective Comics telling one story?
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I got 8 comic books this week. I also got Dragon Ball Super Volume 20. That's my manga choice for the month. I mean, this wraps up one of the arcs. It's really good for the vested long-term Dragon Ball Z fan, and it's still pretty fun. So that's what got my money this week. And
very
thank you
nice
so much for having me on, Wes. I love talking comic books with everyone here, and the best live chat on the planet.
Absolutely. And Nerd says the Western uglification of women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ugly people that are confused about their gender because they're ugly in their gender now want everyone else to be ugly too, because otherwise it makes them feel bad about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And even more confused because they think that you can only be a member of a gender if you're pretty.
All right. So I also got to go to a comic book shop. There's 2 different stores in Manila. There's Phil Bars, which is mostly a Funko Pop store with a little bit of comic books in the middle. There's also Comics Odyssey, but it was too far away. So I went to Phil Bars, bought some stuff for the kid. I got him an issue of, was it Adventures of the Super Sons? I believe it's that one. And then I got me a couple of trades here. I got a Big Game from Mark Miller. Then I got 2 volumes of Trece, the Ablaze reprints of the original Filipino graphic novel stuff that they've done over the years. And I'm very excited about those. So I was glad to get some actual comic books in my hand, along with the stuff that Yule Carter sent me with the Batman Year One reprints, as well as the faux reprint or faux facsimile edition of Batman 428. Jim, what are you recommending this week?
I'll go Ultimate Spider-Man #2 is the big one. I'll just stop there.
You want to talk some smack on Sully? He was recommending some sus books there.
Yeah.
He was going full Gabe on us.
Come on.
This is the thing. Sully comes on here and you get half of the stuff that he tells me when he's reading stuff. I'm like, really? Like you and I end up like, I'm like, okay, like Catwoman. He's enjoying that. I was surprised he like stuff, but I like the positivity.
Thanks, man.
I love it.
I love Sully's positivity, but dear God, dude, you have some terrible taste sometimes.
Dude,
like Jimmy level taste.
He hasn't gone full Jimmy yet.
No, I just like I love
Although
how
we did
Sully
say
doesn't
Fall of the
care.
House of X was good.
Gabe does
That's
the
a
same
Jimmy.
thing periodically.
Yeah,
That's
he
a
does.
Jimmy
Really?
opinion.
They all have questionable taste.
Doc said it just earlier in the show. Fall of the House of X is proof that everything between Hickman's first run and this has been complete and utter bullshit. And it's all
Did you
fun.
like Joker Year One Part 3? That's the
You-
question.
You know, it was
There we go.
okay. Some of the art was okay, especially the future scenes. But and I liked it being more of a Jim Gordon story too. Before he
Really,
was
a
protected.
Joker Year One book being more of a Jim
And it's
Gordon
over.
story. You
Which
like
That's
that?
Joker is
it.
it supposed to be? Which of
Yeah.
the three Jokers? I mean,
They
Joker
combine
is
all
the
three
one
of them
writing
into
it.
one.
I don't know. I don't. You know, but it's
It
over.
wasn't a Joker Year One story. Is my point.
Right.
I will tell you, Sully, though, if he's gonna rate stuff, if you give him hand drawn art that has good coloring, I mean, you're
What if I
already
told you that
three-quarters of the way
Andrea
there.
Sorrentino stuff was obviously thrown through an AI filter
Yeah, it
and wasn't
looked it.
hand drawn anything?
Wait, that was not Ben Affleck. What are you talking about? Come on.
Yeah,
What
Yeah.
Salvador LaRocca is Tracy?
Needless to say, I was very unhappy, and Doc and I have already recorded our review of Batman 144.
yeah.
We are less optimistic about the completion of the Joker Year One story than Sully is. But we do appreciate your optimism. sir.
Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Who else we got here? Now, Drew, you and I are going to be doing our best of the week. Is there anything else that you need to throw out there?
I just want to say I would love for everyone here in the chat to please check out Unholy Nightmare. Issue 1 is up for pre-order right now online. I've written the entire first arc already, and it's being edited currently by the great Aaron Sparrow here on the panel right now. So you know
that
this
guy
will be
sucks.
a great story.
Blows.
Damn it! Yeah, if you love great comics, you'll love Unholy Nightmare. And stay tuned for the projects I have coming with Murat Michaels, which are also some of which being edited by Aaron Sparrow, some of which he's read so far.
I have indeed. Yeah, good stuff coming. The Unholy Nightmare. You've got a second chance. It's still up for order. Aurelio's absolutely killing it on the pages. So I will back Drew up as part of my recommendation for the week and say go check out Unholy Nightmare. Get your order in for that because it's going to be great. And in the mainstream, I would say if you want to go pick up a book today, of course, it'll come as no surprise to anybody. My recommendation for the mainstream this week is Cobra Commander #2.
Mhm.
I still think that
Yes.
Josh Williamson is killing it. I think that Skybound is killing it. I'm so excited about this Energon universe. I'm on Twitter recommending it to people. So, for all those haters out there that say we never, you guys never like anything, that's patently untrue. There's plenty of videos on Wes's channel that prove otherwise. There's plenty of, room on the Patreon where Wes and I talk about things that we like. This week we reviewed 3 things that we like because you guys were awesome and you let us actually review good things instead of trying to punish us and making us review things that you knew would torture us. So God bless the chat for your mercy. We reviewed G.I. Joe the movie, the animated feature from the 80s. We reviewed Daredevil season 1 and we reviewed TMNT The Last Ronin. So check out
Nice.
the Patreon and you can hear us talk about that and see where we just get off into the weeds and talk about other things as well.
We might have talked about Roadhouse, but how
we
could
might have
not?
talked about Roadhouse. Yes.
What were we supposed to do? It's Sully. I'm sorry if I was teasing you too hard.
Oh, that's fine, man. I can take
I wasn't
it.
trying to make it personal.
Oh no. I'm good. I'm gonna cry in my pillow later, but for now,
Yeah, he's a big boy.
I'll send you a song, Sully.
No, I like to think that Sully is our Dalton, and he, no matter how hard we tease him, he
Nice.
says to himself, "Pain don't hurt."
and be
Yeah.
nice until
Great
it's
move.
time not to be nice. I love
right.
those words. Those are words to live by.
All right, Aaron, give him the line from Terry Funk Jr.
So yeah, Terry Funk is in Roadhouse. By the way, G.I. Joe tie-in, Chris Latta, the voice of Starscream and Cobra Commander, also in Roadhouse. But Terry Funk, the wrestling hardcore legend, turns up in that movie and drops the iconic line, "I heard you had balls big enough to come in a dump truck, but you ain't showing me shit."
That's right, Sully. You ain't showing us shit.
I thought you were just talking about his balls.
Rip your
Wow.
throat out and awkwardly kick you on the behind while you fall in a pond. Okay.
That guy deserved it.
Hey, listen, J.C. Penney's is coming here because of me.
Oh man, they should definitely do a
Have you heard
Roadhouse
the-
fucking comic book. What were they thinking?
Yeah.
I've heard the Kelly Lynch, Bill Murray story, the connection they have with Roadhouse.
I mean, she's in it, but
Well,
what's the-
so
what's the connection?
Bill Murray calls Kelly Lynch randomly once a year at like 2:00 in the morning, calls her house and says, "Hey, you don't know who I am, but I'm watching Roadhouse right now, and your wife, she's really getting it railed to her by Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse right now."
That is Bill Murray. The fact that he just randomly shows up at people's weddings that he doesn't know. I mean, just a guy living his best life. But you know what?
Does
You're
not
absolutely
care.
right, Wes. A Roadhouse comic would absolutely kick ass, and I say the spin-off, The Legend of
Not
Wade
the Jake
Garrett.
Gyllenhaal shit,
be-
the fucking real deal from Patrick Swayze.
You know what's funny
Yeah.
though? I'm gonna see the Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, I guess it's not in theaters, right? It's just on Prime or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess I will see the
Yep,
Jake
Amazon.
Gyllenhaal version.
I ain't seen that shit.
My friend said it looked like shit. They go, "Oh, like a better version of Roadhouse," and I said, "Get out of my house."
Exactly. You can't make a better version
Get
of a
to me.
perfect movie.
Wildcat hit it right. If you made a Roadhouse comic today, Tinny Howard would write it.
Oh. So why you always
Exactly.
got to bring down Tinny, Doc? What are you recommending this week?
I am recommending. Well, we read Joker Year One, and I'm trying to figure out if that has more excitement or if there was more surprises on how it was going to go, or the annual Toyotathon. Which one was the bigger event? I'm gonna have to go with Toyotathon. More surprises in it. But other than that, from a comic reading perspective, I am not obviously recommending any new comics this week. However, I went comic shopping while I was out of town. I went back issue diving. ASM 345. This is one that I was missing. I think this is the last issue of the with Larson's covers that I didn't have. Bagley did this issue. This is the issue right after Cardiac is introduced and Cletus Cassidy. So there we got Uncanny or ASM 345. Then I can never say no to early 90s chromium covers. Danger Girl number 1, the chromium variant. It's the chromium a-go-go variant. I mean, they're all
J.
dressed
Scott
like
Campbell.
go-go dancers. J. Scott Campbell doing go-go dancers in a chromium cover. This is like pure fanboy for me. So I grabbed that. And they had
Oh, here we go. 201.
X-Men 201 in a 9.6 that was an eminently reasonable price. And I mean, I already have a raw copy. I have a couple of raw copies actually, but this one is I was looking for a 9.6, 9.8 on it so that I didn't actually have to do my own submissions, and found one. And for a reasonable price, it's the direct market version rather than the newsstand, but I'm good with that. That time the direct market was actually smaller than the newsstand market. So, but those are the comics that I am recommending this week. This is the first appearance of Baby Nathan. So this is right before Scott Summers becomes a deadbeat dad. And dips out on his wife and his kid and decides to go hook up with his dead ex-girlfriend. So that is my recommendations for this week. And Storm kicks the crap out. Depowered Storm beats powered Cyclops to determine who the leader of the X-Men is going to be, because Cyclops is all fucking distracted.
Mhm.
You know, all of us sexists were totally fine with it too back in the day. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember talking with my friends, and we were actually excited about it. We were like, "Wow, Storm is so cool."
I know, like Storm beats powered Cyclops. Depowered Storm beats powered Cyclops in a one-on-one fight for who's in charge. And yeah, we were all good with it. We loved it.
Very nice. And you know what I don't love? People call me Sus West just because Jason Aaron's doing a perfectly fine Batman comic book right now. Why can't he do a TBT better? It's got to be better than Sophie Campbell.
Well, I mean that goes without saying.
We can get hyped.
But
if you want.
you're
Let's
but
do
like
it
just
after.
the idea that you're like, yeah, it might be good, and I'm like, it's an ongoing Wes. He's telling an ongoing story. It's not just a.
Yeah,
prequel
he's not
story
going to
in time.
stay there. They're not going to pay that guy that long. It's IDW.
Oh, that's
There's
true.
no way
It's
he's
the
on
Flash
more than 8
fan.
issues before they pull in like what they consider a downgrade. Right?
One of the writers on their Star Trek Pride anthology.
Yeah, we can get one of the Star Trek writers or whatever.
So in the least surprising thing for me this week, I am recommending a 30-year-old comic, a 35-year-old comic, and a 40-year-old comic.
Well, very nice.
You're gonna love Cobra Commander 2, though, Doc. You're gonna love it.
He's not into that Energon stuff. He's weird.
He loves GI Joe.
I think
I'm
he likes
actually-
buying new toys.
I actually think I am going to start picking up the Energon stuff.
Yeah.
It's about time, man.
Yeah.
And don't forget to pick up G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, starting
Yeah.
out with 301 all the way to 304, which I can't believe Aaron didn't mention because it was probably better than Cobra Commander. It was awesome.
I haven't
really
read
good.
it yet.
Oh, it was really good.
Real good. So there we go. I'm gonna bounce out of here. I've got to record with Drew and get some chicken nugget action going on in my life, and I'll be around